Dawn in the desert, a clear and chilly November morning. We are near the city of Buckeye, Arizona, where a caravan of cars is arriving, carrying volunteers. For the next several hours, they will comb this unforgiving landscape, looking for a young man who's been missing since June of 2021. His name, Daniel Robinson. And leading the search, not law enforcement, but Daniel's father, David.
Where is everybody located?
For 9 painful months, Robinson and his team of volunteers, people he now calls family,
This is my family.
have been desperately trying to find any trace of his son.
He's a very bright, intelligent geologist. Anything that Daniel wanted to do, he would do it. He's born without a right hand, but he found ways to master anything that he wanted to do. You know, he's a geologist. Of course, Arizona is the ideal place.
In June 2021, Daniel had just begun a job doing field work at a desert well site. He'd always kept in close touch with his family back home in South Carolina. But around this time, Daniel suddenly stopped calling.
I tried to call his phone constantly. He wasn't answering.
In fact, the whole family tried calling Daniel. Nothing. His sister in Arizona checked his apartment. No one there.
I was worried. I didn't want to panic because I didn't want my children to panic, so that's when I decided to call the Buckeye Police Department.
The Buckeye PD is a small one with barely more than 100 officers. Nevertheless, they began investigating by first checking the area where Daniel was reportedly working. Nothing turned up. 2 days later, David Robinson, desperate for answers, felt he had to take matters into his own hands.
I just grabbed everything I had, threw it in my vehicle, and just started driving. And I made it here. I came straight through. Left South Carolina, came straight to Arizona.
Some 45 hours later, David arrived in this daunting desert, exhausted, but in a panic. His son was out here somewhere, all alone, facing 3-digit heat, rattlesnakes, and not a soul or building in sight. So on his own, David started searching and soon made his way to the well site where his son was last seen.
This is where it all began. This is where the whole narrative started. My son drove off into the desert and vanished, maybe from here.
David then met with a witness, a co-worker of his son's who said he saw Daniel at the well the day he disappeared.
He did tell me that my son seemed like he was looking out into space somewhere, looking out into the desert terrain, kind of staring off, and was acting really quiet. And then he told me my son just kind of waved off to him, got in his vehicle, and drove off.
Where he went and what exactly happened next, no one seems to know. Soon after that meeting, David began recruiting volunteers to help him search the sprawling Sonoran Desert. Every Saturday for the next few weeks, they scoured this barren, treacherous landscape. They have not found Daniel. Then in July 2021, a break, a big one. A local rancher found Daniel's Jeep rolled over in a remote ravine.
When I first saw that crash site, I was really devastated. This place I had to go to and see for myself.
The airbags had deployed. The sunroof looked as if it had been kicked open, perhaps used as an escape route. And this was odd. Outside the Jeep were what appeared to be Daniel's clothes and work boots, his wallet still in his blue jeans. Inside the vehicle was his college ID, laptop, keys, cell phone, and plenty of bottled water. To help make sense of this mystery, David hired private investigator Jeff McGrath, an expert at reconstructing accidents. He has a theory of what might have happened.
There was nothing along this route that the vehicle took into that bottom ravine that matched the damage. It's telling me the vehicle was probably crashed somewhere else. Either moved here or it was continued to be driven, and this was its final stop. And whether somebody stole it in joyriding, whether Daniel was in it, but it tells me something happened somewhere else.
The Jeep has since been moved to a secured location for further analysis, but plenty of evidence still remains of the crash.
I don't believe it was enough to kill, no. The airbags had enough force to do some damage. They strike you in the face, and they come out with a lot of force, and it could cause a concussion. But there wasn't enough violence here in this crash to cause a lethal.
That suggests Daniel survived and was perhaps disoriented and maybe wandered aimlessly into the desert. Could this be other than accidental? Could foul play be involved in Daniel's disappearance? It's something McGrath and David have not ruled out. It's something police have examined too. To this point, there is no evidence of that. None at all. Whatever happened back in June of 2021 has David Robinson now bracing for the worst.
It's hard to say you're searching for your son walking around the desert with no clothing, no shoes. So I had to mentally put it in my head that I'm doing a recovery. So I need to go find every spot I can out here to rescue my son. He may be hurt, injured, somewhere stuck, whatever. I need to find my son. Yeah, I found something up here interesting.
David is hoping to get more attention, help, and resources from the Buckeye PD, which says this is still an ongoing investigation, although so far not a criminal one.
Okay, so we're still working this side.
He's also tried to enlist federal help. In the fall of 2021, the Buckeye PD briefed the FBI and asked for their assistance. The Bureau recently told us they're still assessing the case. So far, they have not gotten involved. So for now, David Robinson and his team of volunteers continue to search.
I really have faith that somehow God can bless that he's alive somewhere, and I hope so. I am not stopping. He's my son. He's my responsibility. He's a fighter. He never give up on anything. I definitely won't give up on him.
These families and bringing you their stories. And we begin tonight with Daniel Robinson, a 24-year-old geologist living and working in Buckeye, Arizona. It is one of the westernmost suburbs of Phoenix. It's a low-lying desert valley, a resort spot that has quickly grown into a full-scale city. And it is where Daniel set off on a start for a job that he loved. He left work in Buckeye June 23rd. He has not been seen or heard from since. Puzzling clues, a crash scene that raises a lot of questions is what we know tonight. News Nation correspondent Nancy Liu is live in Buckeye for us, where she spent some time with Daniel's father. Nancy.
Marnie, it has been over 3 months since Daniel Robinson went missing. This is the area in Buckeye where his vehicle was found. This is remote. The terrain is extremely treacherous, and his family now wonders whether Daniel was really in that vehicle when it crashed here.
I have faith, and I really believe I'll have my son back alive.
David Robinson is on the biggest mission of his life. After serving 2 tours in the deserts of Afghanistan, the Army vet has no plans to leave the deserts of Arizona until he finds his 24-year-old son, Daniel.
Treat it like a mission. I keep saying it. I'm a professional soldier. I do my job and find my son. He's my son, I'm his father, and it's my job.
The job has been filled with frustration. Daniel is a geologist who works for a company analyzing sediments in the area for a well. He was last seen leaving the worksite in Buckeye on the morning of June 23rd. A month later, a rancher found Robinson's Jeep crashed in a ravine. His keys, wallet, and phone were in the SUV, but there was no sign of him.
And I think the first thing he would have done if he was in that vehicle is at least carry his phone with him. I couldn't imagine someone 24 years old won't be attached to his phone.
I'm leaning more towards, I don't think Daniel was in that vehicle.
The private investigator working with the Robinson family suspects foul play is involved. He says there are too many unanswered questions raised by data recovered from the vehicle.
The vehicle had 11 additional miles on it from the time the airbags deployed. It had 46 additional ignition cycles. on it after the airbags deployed.
Jeff McGrath also notes red paint transfer on the right side of the Jeep.
The vehicle was tipped over on the passenger side, so there's no red paint in this area. So how that got there, that's why I'm saying that vehicle did not crash here. That vehicle was, its last place of rest was here, but something was going on with that vehicle.
The Buckeye Police Department refused an interview request, but provided its report in which coworkers said Daniel made odd comments about needing rest before he left the job site that morning. His father describes Daniel as always friendly and well-adjusted since his birth without a right hand.
He don't wear prosthetics, you know he was born without a hand, and he don't wear prosthetics. His mom tried to get him to wear it. No, Mom, I want to, be who I am. And so that's just Daniel. He was living his dream. He became interested in geology when his first year in college, his freshman year. He took a class, and that just set it off,
Just like the Gabby Petito case, internet sleuths are also at work on this one.
Just seeing the way the car was, the Jeep was, and the evidence, to me, it actually does support foul play.
Brian Watts hosts a mystery and adventure show on YouTube. A recent episode featured Daniel's disappearance.
After I then got lots of comments from people in and around that area that said, yeah, there's crime, carjackings that happen all the time, and it's bad. It's something that they're aware of.
The search for Daniel forges on, and this man on a mission will remain in Arizona until there are answers.
I don't know what to think anymore. Just going to keep watching and keep on searching.
At the break of dawn, in the middle of the Arizona desert, a crowd of strangers meet for one purpose.
You guys coming out here to help me out, I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart.
To help another stranger, a father desperately searching for his 24-year-old son, Daniel Robinson.
Since he was a child, he liked to challenge everything.
He was born with a challenge.
And I wanted to introduce him to prosthetics because he's born one hand. We quickly learned that that's something that Daniel didn't want. He let nothing stop him. He decided to be a geologist once he got into freshman year in college. He excelled that, he graduated with honors.
Daniel's first job is checking the viability of water wells in the Arizona desert.
He loved this area, of course, because of the rock formation. You're a geologist, this is the best place to be.
But the terrain became a hellscape for his dad when Daniel went missing back in June from his job site.
And what number search is this?
This is search number 14.
Navigating the dangers in the desert, the Army veteran knows firsthand time is of the essence.
When I called the Buckeye Police Department, they told me that I had to wait an extra 3 hours because they had a 12-hour, report time when you can say a person is missing. Then I called them back and put in a missing person report. I got very worried. That's when I got very worried. I asked the Buckeye Police Department to go out and search that area. The officer told me that they were going to send a vehicle out there, a helicopter out to search for him. I was relieved. And then he called back an hour later and said, no, it was a no-go. I'm his dad, and he's my son. I've lost all sense of reality. At that moment, I said, you know what? They're not going to look for my son. I'm going to have to do it myself.
Before he arrived, police did decide to search on foot and with helicopters.
This is the last place your son was seen?
The last place.
What do you think happened, David?
I think a lot happened here. I'm very suspicious.
But he doesn't know what. A month in, there's a break in the case, and police call Robinson.
I got afraid, actually, that it's going to be some bad news. He said, no, we just found his vehicle.
Some ranchers found it, and then at that point, we conducted our investigation and additional searches.
What was the condition of the car? If it had rolled over, it sounds like it was pretty bad.
Yeah, the car was on its side. The sunroof was kicked out at that point, so he might have exited through the sunroof.
His wrecked car in a ravine, both airbags deployed, Daniel's cell phone, clothes he was wearing that day, and a case of water all found at the crash site. But not Daniel.
People don't just disappear into thin air.
True.
Does that sort of feel like what's happened here?
Yes. Yeah, it's very, very challenging case.
No matter how much the family asks for this to be a criminal investigation, can you make that happen?
We can't make up evidence. Absolutely suspicious circumstances related to the case.
Frustrated and heartbroken, Robinson hired a private investigator.
Where are we going?
Down here is where the vehicle was recovered from.
Is that the glass from the car?
Yes.
when you looked at this accident, what are the discrepancies that you noticed right away?
I believe it was in more than one collision.
What does the data from the black box of the car tell you?
That there was 11 additional miles on the vehicle since the airbags came out.
What does that tell you?
That tells me it was crashed somewhere else.
Does that sound suspicious? What explains that?
Well, we had the national expert that came in and provided us his findings, and then they ended up speaking to an expert at Jeep, and the expert says, yes, sometimes that happens, and it's not unusual.
But the data also shows someone tried to start the car 46 times after the crash.
That's something we can't explain.
It begs the question, again, the family is saying it's criminal. It's got to be, or he's in danger. Do something.
Right. No, I agree. But we need information. We need evidence.
He's got a lot of theories. His words, I think, were, I don't think they cared. What do you say to that?
Couldn't be furthest from the truth.
Losing hope, Robinson began pleading for media coverage.
It literally took 3 months.
While Robinson searched for his son, the country became riveted by media coverage of another missing persons case, the case of Gabby Petito.
In my situation, people think I love our children less or something, or they're less important.
In 2020, more than 543,000 missing persons records were filed. More than 480,000 were cleared. And 40% of the missing are people of color.
There are a lot of Gabby Petitos and Natalie Holloways in the Black and brown community.
That's why former police officer Derica Wilson co-founded Black and Missing Inc. and says too often their cases go untold. Eventually, local stations did stories and citizens began helping search. Did you know Daniel?
No, I just wanted to help.
You're just helping out a stranger on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Why?
You know what? I can't imagine what that man's going through.
As the search for Daniel goes into its 5th month, another family is in the midst of a terrible mystery for a 5th year. The family of Nikki and Ariana Fitz.
Ariana is very energetic, very happy.
2-year-old Ariana went missing under the most suspicious of circumstances in the San Francisco Bay Area in 2016. Her mother, Nikki Fitz, was found in a shallow grave in San Francisco's McLaren Park, but Ariana was gone.
It breaks my heart that Ariana's not with her mom and Ariana's not with her family, but it also breaks my heart even more is that I know that Nikki wants nothing more than Ariana to be with us, to be home.
Tessa Fitz says she is convinced her niece Ariana was taken by people close to Ariana's mother. San Francisco police searched for weeks. They had some leads, but no arrests. A digitally altered photo was made of what she may look like now.
And she's 8 now. I don't want to see this in a picture. I want to see her face in person.
Should Ariana Fitz be a household name like JonBenet Ramsey?
Absolutely. Why is her case any different from Kaylee Anthony? I can tell you, the color of their skin is the only difference.
For 5 desperate years, the family has continued searching using flyers, social media, and Black and Missing Inc.
Do you think it has anything to do with color?
I try not to put myself in the mindset of the race issue with her media coverage. All I want is for there to be the media coverage for her. I think she deserves that.
The Fitz and the Robinsons want only one thing, with hugging their missing children once again.
Do you think that Ariana is still alive?
I do believe that Ariana is still alive, and it would mean everything to me to know where she is and to find her. I wait for that day every single day. I believe that day will come.
How long will you search?
Till I find my son. I have to. I mean, he's my responsibility.
Sarah Seidner, CNN, Buckeye, Arizona.
I'm David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Robinson. We're out here to do a candlelight visual on behalf of my son, and also to bring light into other families who are going through similar situations. So thank you. I'm thanking everybody who's out here to support. We need to stand in solidarity to bring attention to this case and to make a statement.
Oh, I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you.
My name is Daniel Robinson. I attend AC Flora, and I'm planning to major in geology at the College of Charleston.
Good job.
Daniel Robinson went missing 4 months ago. This is the last photo his family has of him. He's a 24-year-old geologist, last seen leaving his job site in Buckeye, Arizona.
As the Gabby Petito homicide case garners national attention, another young person has been missing for nearly 3 months, and his family is desperate to find him. 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, a geologist, was last seen on the morning of June 23rd, leaving his work site in the desert of Buckeye, Arizona.
David Robinson had only one thought on his mind as he drove the nearly 1,800 miles from his South Carolina home to Phoenix.
I had to find my son. And I'm still searching for him. Good morning, everybody. This is David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Robinson. My son went missing on June the 23rd of 2021. My son was at his work site when he went missing. He's a geologist, graduated from the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. After graduation, he went straight to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, to become a field geologist with a company called Matrix Southwest Groundwater, also called Matrix New World. Again, his job title is also called a hydrogeologist, where he go check the viability of wells. In Arizona, before they can build a community out in these deserts, those communities have to have a well, sometimes two. And what he does is to check, also by law, those wells have to produce at least 100 years of water. If they don't produce that 100 years of water, that community cannot be built in that area. His job is to determine that if that community can be built, and also to check to see if the water is drinkable by checking the rock sediments that's on the bottom of those wells. Again, my son on June 23rd, he went out to 2 wells that morning. He went one off of I-10 in the Verrado area, and also one up in the Buckeye area, up off of Sun Valley Parkway area of the desert. When he made it to that second well site, he met a worker from a company called Weber. That worker said that my son got out the vehicle, spoke with him for a brief second before following him down into the well site. My son followed this worker a mile west into the desert and then 2 miles north into that desert, farther in that desert, where they eventually came to the well site. Once they got to the well site, the worker said my son had a conversation with him about the weather. It was about the rain, and he wanted to know. My son wanted to close the site down for the day, go back to Phoenix and rest, get some rest. As you know, through my investigation, not the Buckeye Police Department's investigation, but through my investigation, it has some suggestions to say that Daniel was working all night the night prior. And if that's the case, which I'm getting down to the conclusion of that, that would explain the reason why he's tired. Of course, the worker said that he also, for some reason, checked my son's eyes to see if it's dilated and things like that. After the conversation about the weather and checking my son's eyes to see if it's dilated, my son waved off to him, got in the vehicle, and drove off where he was never seen again. This worker said also that he followed Daniel's track. After some time, he went to go look for Daniel. He didn't directly call him right then. He went to look for him. He stayed left for the tracks when he started seeing Daniel's track because he said he noticed Daniel's tracks going towards the T-junction. And once it got to the T-junction, it made a right instead of left. It went out west towards the farther into the desert. The reason why he stayed, he followed his tracks, like I said, to see if he could locate Daniel. Could Daniel come back to the well site? He also said that he made sure he stayed left to those tracks so he didn't disturb them because he knew that the police would become looking and this thing would become national and become big. He made it to a gate out west where he got his vehicle into that gate. He drove for another mile or so before he ended up out of his vehicle again. He walked around. He got up on a tall hilly area to see if he could see my son's vehicle off from a distance. He also described to me that he took some red paint and paint some rocks with red paint so he can direct the police officer where he last seen those tracks travel to. Again, my son had went missing on June 23rd on that day, that morning, roughly around 9 o'clock that morning. They only had a brief 10-minute conversation and haven't been seen since. As you know, behind me is the scene. Not this a poster here, but the picture that's overlaid under it is the scene where my son's vehicle was found almost 30 days later in a ravine, a 20-foot ravine on his side. Outside of that vehicle, about 3 feet away, is my son's clothing. If you guys can look right here, I think on the side here, you look at the clothing here. His clothing, everything he's wearing on his body, from his underwear to his socks, was on the ground in the pile, almost 3, like I say, feet away from that vehicle. And also the safety vest was another foot away. Also behind the thing here with Daniel, the picture of Daniel here is behind him, straight on the other side there, a few feet away, is one of Daniel's work boots. And the other one is tucked right here under the vehicle here, right about in there, tucked under that vehicle. And on the front end there, along with the sunroof panel. Also, I was told from that point that it was a rancher, that found my son's vehicle almost a month later as he was out there traveling in that desert looking for his cattle. He's a tracker. He says he's a very good tracker at that. He's a 4th generation rancher. His family owned that land out there for years, for a long time. He's been born and raised out there. His job, what he does, is he's go out and track these free roaming cattle of his. He said those cattle, when they come to the corral, they usually come down this ravine here. So he was out there 2 to 3 days prior to the July the 19th when the vehicle was discovered, and the vehicle wasn't there. He noticed his cattle didn't come through yet because he can tell with his tracking skills. Also, he came back, like I said, on July the 19th, where all of a sudden the vehicle was there. It was there, just like he said, described here the scene. He took a lot of pictures that I have also from that scene before the Buckeye Police Department showed. He also said that he thought it just happened at the time. He started yelling out the workers started yelling out for the person who the vehicle belonged to. He said he thought it just happened because the vehicle was very clean. He's out there. He see a lot of vehicles get dumped out there a lot out there in the desert. And he said usually when it's dumped out there, especially when it's sitting for a couple of days or even a day or two, it has desert dirt on it. It didn't have any desert dirt. The wheels were too clean, and that's what make him feel like it was just there. So he went to go looking, yell out for my son, who didn't know who it was at the time, and nobody answered. Then he noticed the license plate. He thought so. That was the vehicle that he thought he heard on the local news about. He called the Buckeye Police Department and reported the vehicle. And they asked for the license plate, and lo and behold, they said, yes, that's the vehicle that we're looking for, which was my son, Daniel Robinson. The Buckeye Police Department, according to this rancher, took about 2 hours or so before they even showed up to the scene. When they came to the scene, it was really relaxing. He said he didn't like the fact that they seemed, the urgency wasn't there. They didn't seem like they really care. Matter of fact, they came with a razor, and a razor that they had, this one razor, the tires was flat. One of the tires flat. He had to change the tire, and he also told me that they came on with a few officers. They came out with a lady who came out and took a couple pictures. I guess that's where this picture came from. Took some pictures. He took a lot of pictures, he said, and she took off. After that, he said they had the drone in the air. They had the drone out there and to look around and things like that. So they did have the drone operators. He also said that they eventually later that night brought in one dog. It was a tracking dog. He said they told him that the other dogs was in training that week, and they had to borrow that dog from one of the neighboring, I think it was Maricopa County. Once they got that one dog around 10 o'clock that night, they took that dog out for almost 30 minutes or so, and they brought it back to the vehicle, saying that the mountain lion was tracking it. Also, he described to me that there was never been a helicopter search for my son, and there haven't been multiple dogs. There only been one dog. Also, this rancher told me that because of the nature of the crash, he also explained with the little father and told me why he think this vehicle, and he know this vehicle wasn't there. First of all, because he was there 2 to 3 days prior, but also to explain to the father, he said, hey, his cattle would have came through there. They would have saw that vehicle because they always come through there, and they would have stopped. They would have been licking on the vehicle to try to get the salt off. They would have been rubbing that paint off, trying to lick the vehicle, get the salt off, and then they would have noticed the cases of water in the vehicle, and it would have been tearing that vehicle up trying to get to it. Also, they would have been digging around with the clothing on the outside of the vehicle, and their droppings would have been around the vehicle, around that area, because they would have hung around for a while. Other thing the rancher has described is, like I said, the wheels was too clean for him, and also, like I said, he was there. It wasn't there 2 to 3 days prior. So I got a lot of details from the rancher, and but that was well after the vehicle was found. The day the vehicle was found, like I said, Buckeye Police Department told me they did over 12 or 15 hours of searching. They did a whole day of searches, is what they told me. Started from that morning all the way up to that night. They told me that on July the 20th. They called me around 9ish, almost 10 o'clock in the morning, and they called me and say, hey, we found the vehicle. Of course, my first question is why you guys didn't tell me the day prior when you guys found it. And their reply was because they didn't want to disturb my sleep. Now, you guys know that I've been out in the desert searching for my son with volunteers, hundreds of volunteers weekly out there in that desert, even on the weekdays, searching for Daniel well before this vehicle was found. And when the vehicle was found, you don't think I would have been worrying about sleep. So it did upset me to hear that he said that, telling me that he's worrying about sleep. I asked him why he didn't want to disturb my sleep. Also, once the vehicle was recovered, like I said, they invited me out that morning to come out to the police station so he can brief me. When he briefed me, he had 1, 2, 3 things in his hand. He had 1 picture and 2 maps. He had first started with the mapping, and he showed me where the vehicle was located in conjunction with the mapping off of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road area, and he pointed it out to me on the map. The second thing he did, he went to the picture, and he showed me the picture here, like the clothing here, and I was on the ground. He pointed it out. The first thing for it, he had said, hey, this is your son's clothing. We found it on the ground. Of course, that was disturbing for me. It took me by shock. He then asked me, do my son wear boxers or briefs? I'm like, well, how would I know? My son's a grown man. I wouldn't know what he wear. boxes of brief. But he said, hey, look, his everything he's wearing from Lunswear sock was on the ground in that pile. That was very devastating to me. He then went to describe what they thought is a theory to what happened to my son. He said, hey, look, your son, the vehicle came down that ravine. It's a 20-foot ravine. It flipped, it rolled, it twisted, and rolled around the hood, and it went back. I mean, he did do all this kind of twisting stuff to me. And then he said it eventually landed on the side. He said the good news is your son didn't get hurt because he was wearing a seatbelt. He said the reason why we know he's wearing the seatbelt because the way the seatbelt locks when after an accident. Then he told me that he don't believe because they didn't see no blood in the vehicle, there was no injuries. He also said that my son most likely had a severe brain injury, a head injury, because once he kicked his way out the sunroof, he shredded all his clothes. That's what reason why his clothes was on the ground. He shredded his clothes because brain injuries causes people to shred their clothes. They think they're hot and they shred their clothes. He said he believed that he walked off from there, probably went up on a tree somewhere to cool off and succumbed to his injuries. An animal probably got him. After that point, of course, I had to get myself together. Once we left that area, that police department parking lot, he asked me, do I want to see the vehicle? I said yes. So he took me, had me to follow him. I thought was going to the scene here. Lo and behold, we went down the street from the department to a compound where they keep the vehicles, I guess, storage at. And once we got to the parking lot in the front, he let me in through the side to come to the back of the building. And he stopped me at the corner and he said, hey, he told me a story about another family. He's seen something like this before. He's told me a story about another family who had thought their loved one was missing. Turned out that she decided to become a nun. And that's the reason why she was missing. But he said, hey, not necessarily saying about your son, but maybe he decided to get away from you guys and join a monastery, become a monk. That's when I first heard that theory of his. He then proceeded to open that gate where they had these vehicles located, put a little keypad in, and I just saw a line of torn vehicles. You know, of course, you got to imagine, I have never seen my son's vehicle before in person. Only picture I had of my son's vehicle is what he gave me, the same picture you guys see out there in the media that I put out there. He gave me that picture and he was very proud. My goal was to be here, and we had plans that I was going to be in Arizona in July to see his sisters and himself. We was always going to hang out that in July there, and he's going to show me his vehicle for the first time. So you can imagine once he pointed that vehicle out to me, I was devastated to see it in that condition for the first time ever seeing my son's vehicle. We was a little good 15 feet away from that vehicle. He pointed over there. He said, hey, Mr. Robinson, go on over there and open the doors and look inside. I couldn't move. I was very stunned. He kept saying it. Since I didn't move, he started moving forward. He made it up there about 3 feet away from the vehicle. Go ahead and look inside if you want to. Go ahead and open the door. I couldn't touch this vehicle. And the reason why I wasn't being smart, the reason why I couldn't touch the vehicle, I was stunned. You can imagine seeing your child's vehicle torn up the way it was torn up. And all my mind is thinking, y'all don't have my son. I didn't care about a vehicle. I wanted my son. And I couldn't touch that thing. Couldn't touch that thing. That's the only thing that was said. My son was last in, in my mind. I couldn't touch that thing. So he was like, hey, kept repeating, trying to get me to open the door. He decided to lift the airbags. One airbag sitting out of the driver's door. And he lifted that bag up and said, hey, take a peek inside if you want to. He tried to hold it up for me so I could take a peek. I didn't really want to look. He also went to the back door and he asked me to again, open the door and go look. I wouldn't do it. So he opened the back door. He opened it wide. I was able to see in there. And I saw an NYPD bag sitting on the back seat. I pointed and said, what is that? And he said, there's some stuff or something out. He took the contents and dumped it out on the back seat. Again, he told me to go ahead and look. I wouldn't even look. I did notice certain little things that was in that vehicle. From that point, I had enough. Told him, hey, this is it. I just need to get out of there. This is too much. He stopped me. He said, hey, well, you need to get this vehicle out here today. If you don't, we're going to have it towed and you would have to pay storage fees. I was on an emotional state. I asked this guy, hey, look, man, give me 3 days. I'm not from Arizona. I need to, gather this and find out where I can have this vehicle towed to. I didn't know if I need to call the people, the lien holders or anything, who to talk to or where to send his vehicle at. He finally agreed to give me 3 days. I already was having in the working before Daniel's vehicle was found. I had in the working through some people I know to have secured a meeting with Chief Hall, Chief Sanders, and the rest of his department. So that was coming up within those 3 days. Of course, went to that meeting. I had one gentleman that came came as an observer, and he came out there to observe and listen. Once he got there, observed and listened. Also recorded this meeting. We got into a big room, a conference room, a big round table where we had this meeting about all the information I need to know what happened to my son, what they had, and things like that. In that meeting, with a lot of things I haven't discussed, and I probably would still won't discuss, but one of the biggest takers from that is the anger that I had when I realized these guys haven't done, just by one picture. You got to imagine them guys gave me one picture, and in that meeting, Chief Hall kept using the word plural, pictures with an S. I cut them off. It made me angry. I said, hey, dude, you keep saying these pictures. And, y'all only gave me one picture. He promised to give me all the pictures that they had from that scene. And the detective will provide it for me after the meeting. Also, I asked for the police report. He said, hey, we only have a partial report today. We'll give you that today, and we're going to give you the full report as soon as the detective finished. He's writing it up now. He's finalizing this report, and we will have that out to you. Of course, eventually, once I left that meeting, they did provide a full, they call it at the time, they say it was a final report. They gave me that final report, unredacted, and I still have it to this day. Also, they in that meeting, of course, I was angry because I was looking at that one picture that they gave me, and the only thing I've been noticing for those days before, that day or so before that meeting, is you guys look here on this picture here behind me. This is one of their pictures that they end up providing to me outside of the first one. And one thing you notice is that every picture they gave me, there's no forensic marker or anything there. So it made me angry. I had some guys why they didn't do the forensic work, and the sergeant detective has said it's because they didn't see any blood in the vehicle. How you know the blood in the vehicle? In my mind, I'm thinking of CSI and things like that. Them guys, they can find out if people wipe up blood and things like that with these lights and whatever chemicals, whatever they use. And they couldn't answer that question. They didn't have that. How you know my son was in that vehicle? How you know he was driving it? Well, the question from that sergeant was, well, his vehicle is obvious he was driving. And that's their answers. That's their answers to me. They try to belittle me. I think I'm less intelligent to know they BS when they say things to me. But nevertheless, they felt emboldened to do that kind of stuff. They also told me they didn't do anything, no kind of forensics on that scene. So I demanded, if you guys look on that police report and you say, hey, they did some fingerprinting on there, I asked for that. But they're not going to put that in the report that I asked for those fingerprintings. But yeah, that's exactly what I did, is ask for that. I demanded that part of it. So they kept the vehicle. Mind you, like I said, I was having that vehicle towed out of there. I just trying to find a location. I even went to a point of the day after the 20th, had called them again to put a tarp on the vehicle because I think it was going to rain. And just because I didn't want, because the sunroof didn't have the panel was missing off of it or taken off. I didn't want the rain to get down into the vehicle. So I asked them, can I come up there first? I asked them, can I come up there and cover that vehicle up with a vehicle tarp? And they said they would do it for me. So the vehicle was covered. And again, like I said, I also asked for that fingerprinting, which they told me they did. Nevertheless, they said they did fingerprinting, but I held the possession of the vehicle, and I don't see any residue from any kind of forensic work, any kind of residue from fingerprinting. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. I'm not an expert. I only can imagine from something like Inspector Gadget or something crazy that they use powder or some type of chemical or something to do forensic work. I don't know how they really do it, but I can tell you that vehicle don't have any kind of residue or things like that on it. Now, but again, like I said, the vehicle was given to me that day after the vehicle was found, and also after that meeting. Once I got out of that meeting was done, the detective stopped me and he said, "Hey, can you meet me? I want to meet you where you parked at." I told him where I was parked in front of the building. He said, "I'll be right out there." He came out there. Once I got out there, a little while later, he showed up with his pickup truck, and he handed me everything Everything here on the scene, he handed to me in evidence bags. I didn't know what to do with it. Told him to put it in my trunk. Took it to the hotel. I never did open those items. That's when I went home to my hotel that evening, and I thought about everything that transpired, and I decided to get a PI, a private investigator. And when I got the private investigator, I turned all those things over to him. He explained to me, Mr. Robinson, first of all, these things are marked for safekeeping. When I was handing it to him, he showed it to me. He told me what this means. Being a former police officer, he said, when they mark it for safekeeping, meaning that they saying that your son's going to come back and gather his things. Of course, they even told him once he got hired on, he told me that they told him directly they're not doing an investigation. And I believe that because they also told me, and they put it on their Facebook page, there's no more leads to follow. They have nothing else. In other words, end of story. Here's all the things. Here's the vehicle. Here's this. Here's that. They even gave my investigator their black box data that they pulled from that vehicle. After he read that black box data on that vehicle, he found that the vehicle was driven 11 additional miles after the first crash. It was driving like 30-some miles on impact. And also, it was cranked up initial cycles there 4 to 6 times after that crash. Also, he noticed by an physical examination of the vehicle, the damage on the vehicle didn't match the terrain. Out here in this desert, there was red transfer paint on the passenger side. There's nothing red in the desert. And also, like I said, there's no glass in that sunroof. We had questions about where the glass on the ground came from and how did the glass get there. We're assuming that it's coming from to this date that it's coming from the driver's door. I still have questions about that because there's no glass in the vehicle. He explained to me, my detective investigator, there's no glass in the vehicle. When I say no, it probably like a crumb or two in that vehicle. You imagine if a window break out in the vehicle, there'll be glass in the vehicle. There was no glass in the vehicle, but there's some glass on the ground. So he was looking at it as in something hit the side impact near the door and shattered the glass while the door was open. That's the reason why that that glass is not inside the vehicle, but whatever it was is from the outside. So those are the things that have happened on that case. There's a lot more details for people who don't know about my son's case and want to have questions. That's the reason why I have a Q&A this morning. First of all, is because you guys have been so great from day one. Everybody has been supporting the cause here, trying to find my son. As you can imagine, any father and a mother will be doing this. What I'm doing is searching for your child. I mean, I left South Carolina made it to Arizona on the 26th, but I left on the 24th, and I went out to Arizona out there on the 26th, and I've been out in Arizona since searching for my son. And you know what? You guys can imagine. I'm sure you guys will do the same thing for your child. You will not just give up on your babies. You know what I'm saying? So I know he's a grown man, but he's a child to me. You know what I'm saying? He's my son, and he's my responsibility. And I make sure that everything since his birth, since his siblings' birth, that they are protected emotionally, mentally, and everything else. It's my job to help see him, even as an adult, you know what I'm saying, to get his full potential. As an adult, my job is to be a counsel and to help him develop even farther in life. Daniel and I will have our 2-hour conversation. Those are things that I miss to this day of not being able to have my 2-hour conversations with him. He also a lot I smile because it's been a lot of times, Daniel would call that, call at times where I'm busy doing something. I would have to tell him sometimes, hey, look, Daniel, I'm gonna call you right back, and we're gonna have our conversation, because I already know every time we have a conversation, it's gonna last 2 hours. We need time. We need time when we talk. So unless it's a mercy, the first thing he know what I ask him, hey, is this a mercy? Something else, life, limb, eyes, whatever, is a mercy that we need to talk directly now. If not, I'm gonna call you right back, and that's exactly what happens. And we have our 2-hour conversation. I miss those. I miss those conversations because Daniel he's a very inquisitive young man. He get a lot of advice from me. We talk about his plans and his aspirations and things he want to do in life. From he want to be a millionaire, a multimillionaire before he turned 30. He have his dreams of entrepreneurship and travel and things like that. So try to help him guide his way. If it's simple conversation about life, we talk about those things, saying, hey, we got our opinions. We even talk about video games. They could be anything. But it's a very good son and father relationship that we have. And I miss those moments. And I guess you guys can put yourself in my shoes for a moment, and his mother's shoes. It ain't just about me. He got his mother. I don't know the conversation with his mother. His mother and I are divorced. But you know what? I can imagine he talked to his mother, I'm sure, a lot more than he talked to me. That's what boys do, you know. So, but yes, I don't know that conversation, but I can sure it'll be some things just like that. Daniel he'll call, he'll check in, and things like that. So that's one thing I'm very confident that Daniel would not just have left, you know, without letting his family know exactly what his plans are, his thinking. I would believe that Daniel would not even come to the job in the first place if he didn't want to be there. Nevertheless, come to two locations, he wouldn't have came to the first one. But anyway, I want to tell you guys, thanks so much for being here this morning. Good morning to you, Aaron. I really appreciate you coming out here for this Q&A. Thank you, Mama Bear, for coming out. Hot Damn, thank you so much for being here. Forever Curious, thank you for being here. Tea and Wildflowers, thank you so much for being here. And you know, I do have you guys to please, first of all, hit that like and share, subscribe button before you get off. That will help the algorithms get this channel out a lot farther. I'm dependent on that. My job is to also keep Daniel's name out there. As you can imagine, you don't see Daniel's story out on national news. It started off with a little national spotlight. And the reason why national spotlight is very important, in my view, I have the flyers, like you said, there's flyers here to the distribution, to everything I do out there is always geared towards putting awareness out there from just in case there's somebody who has seen something that day. They just so happen to be moving that day, and then now they live in Hawaii, Alaska, Florida, New York, whatever, Ohio. You know, you got to get the story out there. And they may hear and they'll jot their memory, and then I can find out what happened to my son or where he's located. Also, the awareness, this also getting the channel out, it helps with funding. I need a lot of funding to keep this thing going. I've been here since June 26th, searching for my son. We conducted over 40 weeks of searches, and also did over 40,000 acres, I believe it is. I may have these numbers a little wrong. 30,000 acres of land, excuse me. And but you know what? We did a lot. We did a lot of cover land. When I say we, is the dedicated volunteers that was out there with me. Also in the searches, we recovered human remains out there in the desert. So human skull, things like that. So you guys imagine it takes a lot of moving parts, from the distribution of flyers to the travel, to follow leads, to all the equipment that I was using at the time out there in the desert. I didn't know it was going to be that expensive, but just renting out those equipments to be able to do the job I was doing at the time, it was very expensive. So you guys can imagine the need. It's the need of funding and things like that. Awareness is the need. I have a big need for that you guys to share. And also, you know, you guys have the number that I provide for you down the bottom of the screen. My personal cell phone is also a public cell phone. I rely on your encouragement. So when you guys send those encouragements and things correspond to me, it helps me out a lot. It takes me a while sometimes to get to them because I do have a lot, and I'm really grateful for you guys doing that. It helps out totally. It helps out. Also, you guys, I don't want you to forget, on pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, you can also sign a petition, because that's another thing. I started off this thing trying to get the police department to help. You know, you guys know that the Buckeye Police Department, I'm telling you what offends me a lot. What offends me a lot is when I've been working very hard for 3 months trying to get my son's name out there, trying to find out what happened to my son while conducting searches out there in the desert. And then after 3 months of finally getting, with the hard work, a day and night, not getting sleep, one of my tweets went viral because a lady retweeted it and went viral. Joy Reid from MSNBC picked up the story because I've been hitting up her friends. Also, you know, some other things like that. But the whole big thing ended up being, because of the Petito case, that Daniel's story had went out there. What I'm saying is the offense is not from the Petito family, because Petito family has been going through the same pain I have. I feel real bad for their family, also for their loss of their daughter. That's the most devastating thing for any family. So what I'm saying, it has nothing to do with that family. But what I'm saying is the way the media betrays things, and the way the media take on things, and also the reaction of law enforcement when it comes to certain people, right? What offends me to this day is I have never, ever had outside forces, outside agencies. Now, I don't care how much Buckeye Police Department says they work with other agencies. And no other agencies to this day have ever reached out to me or my family members ever to come into, and here it is 10 months going on 11 months. Hell, never came in and said, hey, Mr. Robinson, we come to help you, or we are watching, or we're doing anything. Anything from the FBI is because I elicit that. I say, look, I need to get a case review. They say they're going to do that. When I sent the striking letter to Chief Hall, he said he's doing the case review. And then when they got the case review, they didn't let me be a part of that. They did it under covers and then say with this agent. And I found out it was true. The agent did do a case review, but whatever they showed that FBI department, according to Buckeye, they said that agent said that Mr. Robinson is doing such a great job on his own. We don't need to come in. I'm doing such a great job. And what offends me, like I said, you guys, what offends me the most is the fact that I've been doing this for 11 months. Not one time the mayor has reached out to me at Buckeye, not the city council, even though I went in front of them, their department, not the city managers have not had done anything, and they run the police department. And also, ultimately, the police department itself, they said they did these searches. The first searches was done almost 3 days after my son was missing. The second was done almost 2 weeks after that. They claiming this one's they claiming, and then the third one was done when my son's vehicle was found, and there was no searches done since that time. And not only that, when I said the search, I have been doing, like I said, these many searches a week out there in that desert to a point where funding has gotten bad. You guys are spending your money, sending me money to keep these searches going and things I'm doing going, and not this department. It's a lot of people from Buckeye, a lot of people from the Buckeye Police Department out there in the searches, out there giving their money and things like that. And not one time has that department came out on their own to even help me in my searches. That's what offends me. That offends me a lot to this day, where I can see these other families had the FBI easily, had these other kind of agents, I can name all of them, from different states. They was working from state to state to find out what happened to this girl. I mean, look for her. And then they turned around and did the same thing and just for a murderer. They found a guy, he's a murderer, and killed himself. And they spent thousands of dollars. What you guys see on the GoFundMe, they spent those in a day looking for these people. Spent all kind of crazy money. I'm sure $1 million. I don't know. Crazy money, right? And they don't want to spend a dime on my son. And that offends me a whole lot. You know, saying I'm sitting here on the Q&As to not getting sleep, don't even get a chance to grieve my own son's being missing, and you know, had to try to stay strong all the time, and definitely work really hard trying to keep this thing going. And for them to be quiet, don't do anything. For me to have everything from the scene in my possession, the vehicle. For them to hire, they didn't take no money to go towards anything to get the drones that I need out there in the desert. Instead, they took the money that they could have gave or help with. Like I asked Chief Hall to up the reward money. He couldn't do that. But they can take that money, the same money that I asked for, that's on a pinch of it. And they went and got an incident reconstructionist when I already had one. They didn't like what he said. They didn't like the evidence that he provided to them. So they went to get their own investigator to say what they want him to say, in my opinion. This guy have never seen my son's vehicle, never touched it, never smelt it, never touched his clothes, never handled it, never did anything. Anything that you see on the scene, anything about my son's vehicle and everything that happened to him, this investigator have never even physically touched it or seen. He going by some pictures, and then he had the audacity to go to a dealership. He didn't go to the company of Jeep, the makers, the manufacturers. He went to a dealership, a local dealership, and asked some work at the dealership about investigational stuff, and then write it in a report. So, you know, you guys, that's the kind of disrespect and the mishandling that this department have, the care, the improper care that they give to this kind of case. But when it came to other people, like I said, I see all this striking. I mean, people from all over the country to everywhere. The news cycles, just constantly running for months. I don't know how long it was until these persons were found, but they ran that thing so long and put so much money and funding and time and effort and dogs and everything else I'm begging for out here in the desert. New guys was getting it easy.
but it's hard work. You know, it's one of the things I told my sons when they was younger. Sometimes you have to work 3 times as hard to get the same results, and that's been everyday or often thing. So I want to get to these questions. So thank you guys again for coming in, Tea and Wildflowers. I really appreciate it. You being part of this Q&A. I want to get right to it. The questions. I do have one from Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly, for your question. Has anything turned up from finances, money transfer, unaccountable or for transaction or any card uses? You know, those are some of the things I cannot talk about. You know, I do have access to my son's, of course, bank account and things like that. You know, you got to think about that too. To this day, I can hear. You know what? Actions speak louder than words, you guys. And you know, I see and hear, because I don't look at the report. You probably all can tell. I got discussed with the report a long time ago. So sometimes I be talking about things and say, "Well, that's in the report." Well, you know what? They add things, I'm sure, in the report as I'm talking. They watch the Q&A. Detective Biffin told me he watched my Q&A. So welcome, Buckeye, for watching. But yeah, they watch the Q&A. They watch what I say and things like that. And I notice sometimes when I hear things, it goes along with what I say out in the public. And one of the things is they do not have, as far as I know, they had never gotten it from me or my family, any bank transactions, they don't keep up with none of that stuff. We do. They ask for things, go get a warrant. I had Detective Biffin ask me for my son's personal computer. What you need my son's personal computer for, right? Those are things that need to be forensic work need to be done. They should have did that on day one when they asked for it. No, but he asked me for that in a text message. I'm saying how disrespectful things are. They asked me that in a text message, right? Not only that, just in a regular text message, he also added somebody in that text message, asking me, a family member, for something as police work in a text message. That was very offensive to me. So you lower me down to some damn text, to a text message, and try to ask me for my son. Make my son's case a possible criminal case and go get a warrant for that. That would help me out a whole lot. That means that you would have to put some time, money into my son's case. You're not gonna get something and don't do nothing with it. You know, so you know, that's one of the things disgusts me with this department. But as in Kimberly asked for your question there, I won't be able to provide you the answer on that one, because I do have some things about his statement that, you know, I definitely have to keep under wraps when it comes to his money and what happens with his money and things like that. So, but I can tell you that yes, there's definitely no movement on that kind of stuff. So, all right, thank you, Shauna, for being here. Thank you for being part of the A team and also being a part of the board for Daniel Robinson Foundation. I really appreciate you being here this morning. I really appreciate it that you being here, the moderator. I really grateful to have you here. Thank you so much. Also, Sophia, the same. Thank you so much for being here this morning, being part of the team, moderating, things like that. I really are grateful you being here. Also, everybody, the whole entire board and team, I really appreciate you guys being here. Also, thank you again for the questions. If you guys have one, just like Shauna said, please go ahead and put the word question there, all caps or a capital letter Q or a question mark. That help me as I'm coming down the comment section to find your questions. I really appreciate it. If you guys can do that, I can stroll down here and I won't miss anything, hopefully. Also, thank you, Gina, for being here. Thank you for all your hard work and you know, everything you do on the flyer distribution, to even coming out to the searches out there in the desert when I had the searches going. As you know, guys, these searches are still on pause. I do want to say that you can see on the bottom screen, it's temporary pause for further notice. You guys, the funding is going to come back. You know, I do have Daniel Robinson Foundation filed, so working on things like that. We will have those searches back up and running. I do need to be out there in that desert. I mean, you know, it's hard. It's hard. I need to be out there in the desert with many people. I can't do it by myself. I go out there on the weekdays. I have been going out there on the weekdays. And, you know, I had to take care of some things I don't announce when I go out there. Of course, when I'm going by myself, I wouldn't announce that. And, but, you know, it's impossible, too hard, impossible to search a desert by yourself. So I need people. I need people, and I need you guys, you know, your time. And I really appreciate it when you guys do that. I don't take you for granted. It really means a lot to me when people do show up with these searches. You know, of course, one of the reasons also the searches have been drilling down is the fact that, like I said, participation level has gone tremendously low, and that's understandable. You know what I'm saying? Here it is going on 11 months. My son been missing. One thing for sure, I'm be enthusiastic or motivated a lot. And I'm saying a lot of people who show it. I got some regular people who's always there, motivated to finding Daniel. And because you know what, one thing for me, I've been to war. I fought for this country. I almost lost my life on many occasions, and I suffered from a brain injury because of my time out there. But one thing I do know is that we definitely don't leave a soldier behind. No matter what, me and my battle buddy, we used to talk all the time before we leave that wire every morning, going out there to do our mission. We knew there was a possibility we don't come back. A lot of soldiers didn't come back. It was a possibility, but one thing we promised each other is that we're gonna have each other's back and we're gonna bring each other back. So the whole army is behind that. But me personally, me and him as a battle buddy team, my best friend at the time, out there in that desert. And we would definitely was not going to leave without the other. So those are kind of things that's for me, for not just that. I think any parent would do that, whether you're in the military or not. You're not going to leave your child behind, especially with the situation I see out there. We found human remains. I see people's family members. When I look at those bones we found out there, that human skull, those are somebody's family members. It's not just some bone on the ground of a human, like it's it's just a thing. No, this is a person. And it's sad to see that just because we found those bones don't mean that we found everything of this person. That person's body, excuse me, graphing this, is to be spread all over that desert. We don't know. But all I know is that it's sad that someone's family member is out there on the ground lying down. I don't want to happen for my son. If he's out there, I need to find him. As you guys know, it is very hard pill to swallow. When I was first got to Arizona, it was a rescue mission. I need to find my son. I need to find him alive. I need to find him if he fell in some hole. I'm doing some research about. I found things about washes. Those things that scare me. Sitting in my hotel room researching about the deserts of Arizona, and they talk about these flash floodings that can come through these washes and just wipe you out, take you downstream somewhere, or just bury you. And that type of stuff. So, those things are scary. So reading that and all the mines and stuff that's out there from the gold days, gold rush days and things like that, silver mines and all kind of stuff, people fall into these mines. So there's a lot of treacherous things I was thinking about out there, the search for my son, rescue. But like I said, over time, we started covering all this ground. The months started passing by, the weeks started passing by, and it's common sense. It gets to a point that I know my son cannot be walking around. And the only thing we suggesting we have, he don't have any clothes on his body. We don't have no evidence of change of clothes. One thing that made me puzzled and question about any change of clothes is the fact that his underwear and sock was off his body. So who changes their clothes? Like I said, if I was hot and I want to change my jeans from my long shirt or whatever I had on, and I want to put cooler clothes on, I don't think I'd take my underwear off and my socks and my sock and underwear. I just take the top clothes off and put the lighter clothes on and keep it pushing. So those kind of things make me wonder about, him even having to change the clothes, and the fact that he didn't touch into the water in the vehicle, that question. So the things I'm saying is, it had to change from a rescue mission to a recovery. And that was the hardest pill to swallow. But, it's my pill to take. And I have to go out there in that desert to make sure I'm covering all the ground that's reasonable. I'm not searching the entire desert. I'm searching area that's reasonable, from the 11 additional miles on the vehicle to how far a person can walk the way in the condition that we think, even from a humanistic standpoint, even if he had changed of clothes, how far he can walk without dropping out there in the desert without water. So that type of deal. And we still have areas after 20,000 acres of land or so, or how many it was. I heard to get those numbers back again. We still haven't searched some areas that still need to be searched. So there's still some room out there, and I need your help, guys. If you can help me out there when I get these searches back up and running. All right, I'll go back to the questions. I do thank you again, like I say, Gina, for your questions. I really appreciate you being here this morning. And I do have one from, let's see, who is it? Aaron. Thank you for being here again this morning. I really appreciate it. Question: has it been confirmed by GPS data that Daniel did indeed go to 2 wells that morning? I'm still working on that, Aaron. I have some suggestions a lot from, it stuns me. Here I am as a father. I don't have any technical deals like the Buckeye Police Department would have. They gave me my son's cell phone wiped. I mean, it's missing a memory card to his whole Google history and map location, all that kind of stuff. And everything about this young lady was missing out that phone, right? Except for everybody else things there. My cell phone, our text messages to whatever, you name it, his friends, all that stuff is there except for that one. Those things I was saying, wipe from the phone. When I was able to go to Google myself, and they helped me and got me some of that information. I can't get everything, but it's been for real. I'm gonna find some answers. That's what I'm waiting on now. And one of the things is what I found out so far. You know what I'm saying? I do have a lot of questions about what you're saying. I had those same questions to about this whole thing when it comes to his locations and things like that. So I'm still looking into that, Aaron. I'm still looking into that to be able to say something like that. Hey, the question that you have there. So be on the lookout for that. I'm still working on that, and I will share it as soon as I can. So I'm really grateful. Also, thank you, Shauna, for putting us up. This is your voice. Your voice is 115,360 people who spoke out, who've spoken out for changes, who've spoken out for advocating for this department to work to. At this point, I'm asking you guys when y'all sign a petition. I'm not asking that department to do better. And when I say do better, as in do something myself, I don't trust them anymore. They prove to me that it can't be trusted, and so they're not capable of handling my son's case. All I'm asking them, if you guys sign a petition at this point, is to say, hey, we need to change the venue. We need definitely get another department into my son's case and handle this case. After 11 months, what can they do or other than what they're doing already in their police report? In my opinion, is trying to make themselves look good, putting in things to make themselves look like they did this and do that and things like that. And when, like I told you guys, actions speak louder than words. You can write the hell you want to write in a police report, but I want to see actions. It stuns me. I'm saying the same disrespect. It stuns to me that they could put all the stuff in the police report, but then come to me directly, and I'm on the ground. Then come to my family members, his mother, his siblings, anybody directly to tell us anything. So if you constantly claiming that you're doing all the stuff, why you talking to the family about it? You know what I'm saying? I understand, just like I tell you guys, some things I can't talk to you guys about when it comes to investigational standpoint, but damn it, I can tell you I'm doing something. I can tell you I'm out there in the searches. I can tell you I'm out there on flyers, passing out these flyers no matter where I go. I'm out doing this Q&A. I can just name some stuff, following these leads. We have some leads now that I'm following. I had to go check with this department today and see what they came up with, because I'm following a lead that came out recently. So you guys, that's some back work that people don't know what I do in the back work. You know what I'm saying? So those things is, of course, you don't share everything investigative wise, but damn it, show me something, excuse my expression, show me what you're doing as on the family side. Show me some respect, and show us what you're doing and talk to us as a family. I haven't talked to the department, clearly haven't talked to this department ever since my investigator gave them the evidence. And those jokers shut down. It was something that they didn't want to hear for whatever reason. The evidence was in their face, and the evidence that my investigator gave them would suggest foul play. And they did everything they can to refuse that. They shut down talking to me. They hired their own investigator to say that other than that it wasn't that, trying to paint that picture. There's all kind of stuff. So for whatever reason, they're making sure they're doing everything they can not to help me in this case, find out what happened to my son, but to assure that it appears to be that Danny just ran off. There's nothing to the story, and y'all need to move on with life. They got the wrong person. It ain't no just move on with life. This is my son, not their child. So they don't care, but I care about my own son, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that his justice is served and he gets the right treatment. Whether he's out there or not, you'll treat my son properly. You're gonna treat his case properly, and I'm gonna keep on fighting for that. So thank you guys. Thank you, 115,360 people who spoke out this far about my son's case. I really love you, and I'm really grateful for your help. You know what I'm saying? You guys can also sign a petition multiple times. If you want to, go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com and hit the petition button, and it'll take you to that petition page. You can sign multiple times if you have multiple email addresses. And I do encourage that. The multiple times that you do it, it's just your voice louder. And that's how I look at it. It's not, like I said, a number. It's actually your voice. And I really thank you for it. Also, thank you, Shauna. We do have the next fasting and prayer that's coming up on Wednesday on the 25th. You guys can be prepared for that. Every time you guys do that with us, something happens, something great happened, and I really believe that God, He knew what He's doing. It's very devastating for his mother, my family, my entire family, myself, that my son is missing. At the same time, God has been blessing other people through this. He's been, it's some miracle things have been happening. We had the foundation, for instance. That will be helping other families and things like that. That's coming up, working on that. And I'm just saying, you guys, I'm telling you, I believe in fasting and prayer. Not only that, it's good for our soul and good for our mind. We're doing it something in unity, working together, a common cause. That does something for people. That does something for people when we join together and we do things together. So you guys can pray and fast with us for Daniel, and not just for Daniel. It's things bigger than me and my family. You pray for these other families. I talk to other families, and they're going through things. Let's pray for the Petito family who lost their daughter. Let's pray for Jelani Day and his mother, Carmen. She's a wonderful lady out there working hard for her son. Let's pray for her strength and everything that she had to go through. She's still fighting. That's a shame. And, like I said, you guys, if you look at how certain things are done, it'll upset you. It'll upset you. It'll upset me to happen to any family. However, some of these things, you can look at it and see. It's like apples and oranges. You can see things, how some things are done, and it is very devastating. But we need to pray for these families, no matter who they are, and just pray for these families because people go through bad law enforcement. We need to get these law enforcement. Hey, we could pray for the law enforcement; they do better because you know what? We need law enforcement. I'm not a person who advocate not that we don't need police or something. We need police. We need need them. But you know what? We need them to do their job. That's what we need. We need them to do their job properly. And if they're not doing their job properly, we need to call them out every time. I know I will. Y'all see it. I do that. I don't go with just something just because you wear a blue gun or whatever you got, blue whatever, and you're just walking around thinking you get some respect or without giving respect, first of all, and then you think you get some props without doing your job. You can't just walk around in some department half doing your job, taking taxpayers' money, and don't do the job that you signed up for. Nobody put a gun to their head and make them become a police officer or detective or whatever. If you can't get no sleep, so what? I was in Afghanistan. We was on, I forgot the name of the time, Zulu time. We was on Zulu time, and I promise you guys, I knew I was coming and going when we got to Afghanistan because we never got sleep. I don't know how we even functioned and survived because we rarely ever got sleep. And but it was our job. I knew I was there. It wasn't no guessing that people wanted to kill me. I knew people wanted to kill us. But it was our job. We put ourselves at risk like that. That's the job you choose. If you don't like the job, don't join the military. Don't join the military. Don't become a police officer. If you don't want to do the job, don't join. Don't be there. Don't come for the paycheck. Come for the heart and what you need to be doing and what you're supposed to be doing in your job. So thank you, Shauna. Again, I kind of went off on that. But thank you guys can come and join us with the fast and prayer. Again, thank you, Sophia, for putting that up. Fast and prayer. Please, by all means, don't forget that hashtag fast and prayer for Daniel. Also use that hashtag. You guys can start doing it now. I really appreciate it. I see you have started on OG. Thank you so much for putting that up there. If you guys want to start a hashtag now on your algorithm, so that really helped the algorithm. But make sure it's hashtag fast and prayer for Daniel. And just put it on your social medias, and that definitely will help the algorithms get this out. And you guys can join in and join in with us on this fast and prayer. I know changes will happen. Like I said, when we come together, we have one common goal, one mind. Things happen. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel and spread Daniel's story. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends. Go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Like I say, you want to help in other ways, guys. I know a lot of you from other states and stuff like that. Please go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Volunteer in other ways tab on there, and you can put in your information there with your skill sets. Also, the PDF is there for you to put these flyers out if you guys want to print your own flyers, things like that, to get his story out there. I really appreciate it if you guys can. You need flyers. Also, have some flyers will be shipped out to some people who ask for them. So you guys, definitely that kind of stuff. It helps out a lot. So definitely. Also, I want to mention I put something on Twitter, and I really was running to run it by my team, but I'm putting it out now again. It's ambassadors. I need ambassadors from every state, every city. People, you guys can go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Other ways you help. Fill out that form, first of all, with your skill set, but also add in if you want to be an ambassador for Daniel. You know what I'm saying? To get these flyers out there. Meaning that, once you sign up and we have discussion, I will have a meeting with you or a discussion with you and give you further details about it. So if you guys can just make it clear that, hey, you want to be an ambassador. It's an all volunteer thing. You guys, if you want to volunteer your time, your efforts to be an ambassador for your city, your state, definitely we appreciate that. Help me get these flyers out a lot easier and to locations that I've been really trying to reach for a long time. So you guys can put that information there. Please helpfinddaniel.com and go to the volunteer in other ways tab and put your information there. Say, hey, also I want to be an ambassador. And then we'll go from there. I'll get in contact with you and we can discuss that part of the father. I will be discussing that with my team. I know they're hearing me right now, but we'll be discussing that. So also don't forget the tip line. You know what I'm saying? Please help find Daniel. I pay for the tip line, you guys. 24 hours, 7 days a week. Live operators take your call. You can remain anonymous if you like. And also they make sure those information get to myself, investigator. I was having it going to the Buckeye Police Department. I've since stopped because they are paying for that service, and they have actually took a tip off of my paid service and then alert me on it until some days on it and took it and did what they want to with it without alerting me. So that kind of disrespect. So I took them off. And it was just for myself and my investigator. And you guys, but you can remain anonymous. And also if you don't want to talk to anybody, you also with that same phone number, you can just text the word tip to that number. And that you can also still remain anonymous. That form will come up and you can fill out the information. You can see it there once you pull up. Please help finddaniel.com. You guys can continue to go to that site. I'll be updating it today. We got some things I need to do on that site. So it'll be a lot of things updated for that site. We're still working on some things with my team and myself. So look out for those changes. Also, don't forget the events tab on there. You will see the next fast and prayer events that's coming up. So if you guys want to keep a track of what's going on and what we're doing and when we're doing it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys, everybody who's coming on. If you guys have a question, please put the word question there followed by your question or a big Q, capital letter Q, just like Glenn here done, the big question before your question, or the capital letter Q, or some question marks or something where I can identify your question to help me as I'm coming down the timeline. The comment section. Okay, why the worker say he stopped following the tracks? Also, can you have the airbags tested for touch DNA, saliva, etc.? I'm gonna start with the DNA part first, Glenn. When I look at the scene, every time I look at that, even from day one, of course, yeah, I'm biased. This is my son. I mean, how wouldn't I be seeing something like this for the first time? And the first thing I'm thinking, somebody did something to my son when I see it. But you know what? I had to put my investigative hat on. I had to take my training that I had from the military, where we put the mission first. We bump, and you guys know, if you're military, you know what I'm talking about. You bump your emotions and your feelings, and you keeping track of what you got to do. You keep your mind sharp. You got to stay mentally fit and sharp, and you stay there, and you stay in that point in your mind. And you go after your mission, and that's what the most important part of your day is, to perform your mission. My mission is my son, and when I put that hat on, put my military hat back on and my investigative hat back on. Put my investigative hat on. I had to put aside my emotions. And one of the things is when I look at this scene out in that desert with these volunteers, hundreds of volunteers out there, we're scrubbing that desert looking for my son, right? Trying to rescue him. This vehicle showed up, and the first thing I see in that scene, and I see this one picture that guy gave me. I went to that hotel room and I just look at this picture, and all thing I can see is something happened to my son. Somebody did this, right? It wasn't just a bias thing. Yeah, a little part of it because it's my son. Yes, of course, I'm supposed to. But any layperson, any dummy, anybody with a half brain can look at that and say something is wrong with this whole picture, right? And one of the biggest things was the DNA markers. I look at that picture over and over again. You probably think I was saying, hey, just the fact that it looks suspicious. Yeah, it looks suspicious, and it looked staged and everything else to me. But you know what? The biggest thing that was the biggest problem of this whole picture behind me was there was no forensics markers on the ground. You know how many times I watched the show CSI? That's why I'm bringing it up back in the past, and some of these other kind of investigative shows, the first 48 hours, all the shows, they always have forensics markers on the ground because they had to take pictures, remember everything yet. They had to mark it in inventory, put it in these bags, and whatever they do, they had to do it by the letter. They had to do those things for a reason, because you know what? And then they would keep those things in the evidence locker, whether there's a crime or not, just in case. If they really was looking for something, we're going to keep that just in case we find something that would suggest criminality. And once we find that we have these items, we can go back to. They didn't do that. They didn't have no forensic marker there, and just gave me everything the next day. The next day, and then threatened me if I didn't take it, they was going to have it towed, and I was going to have to pay stolen fee. So that's the kind of things that were done. So there was no DNA testing on it. How you know my son in the vehicle? It's his vehicle drive. Did you test for that? No, we didn't see no blood in the vehicle. How you know there was no blood in? How you did you test for DNA? What you asking, Glenn? Did you test for saliva? You know what I learned about airbags too. Like you said, and I know you're saying that for a reason, Glenn. Is when airbags deploy, your DNA gets on those airbags, right? It's hitting you, it's scraping you, cutting you, especially your arm. You're holding that steel wheel, it scrape all of that, right? Trace DNA. That's what you're asking about. You do get those things on that airbag, and those airbags was not tested for those items. You know. They wouldn't even test it for cleaning agents, on his clothing, on whatever. Wipe or something they used to wipe up. It wouldn't test for nothing. They didn't do any of that. They wasn't going to do fingerprinting until I asked for it. So those type things. So that's one thing about that. No, those airbags haven't been done. That's the stuff I'm paying for. That's the reason I don't have I have my searches on pause, trying to get every dime I can to try to gather money to be able to pay for the stuff, trying to save up for that. So you guys, that's coming up too. God's going to bless for that. That's why we need you to do this fast and the prayer. Miracles do happen. Things do happen through fasting and prayer. I have a whole life history about things like that. So I'd be a fool or dummy to say those things don't work, and that's not God's way. Tell you guys can join in with us on fast and prayer. And that really would help. So also the first part of the question, why did the worker say he stopped following the tracks? He didn't. He just only told me that he stopped telling me about as far as he went when he said he stopped marking these he painting these rocks with red paint to show where these tracks. And after that, that's all I know, the details. He didn't go farther, expand on that. What he did after that point, walk back to the job or whatever the case may be. Only thing I do know, he was at that job every day from the date my son was missing all the way until a few days after I got here in Arizona. When I got to Arizona, he was there because I asked him, hey, you been here? He said he been there since my son went missing, every day at that well site because they're working on that well site. So he's been there every day, he told me. And the reason why I asked him that because the Buckeye Police Department at the time, almost 3 days later, that my son was missing, claimed they did this search for my son with using a Phoenix Airbird helicopter. And this guy said he didn't even hear no helicopter. Personally, didn't see or hear in a helicopter, and didn't see no officers running around the well site that he was located when my son was missing from. So that immediately, of course, the reason why I came to that Civil Air Patrol search they claimed it was going to have, is because of that first one, what that guy said. I didn't say that to the department. I just had it in my mind in my investigation. I said, hey, this department either lied to me or just tell our family anything so we just move on, or they actually did go out there and look. So when this guy told me he didn't do that, yeah, that gave me that suspicion, and I definitely was going to make it to the second one they claimed they said they were going to do. But again, I don't know this guy. He didn't tell me much detail other than that kind of stuff, little direct things I was asking him. So thank you, Don, for being here this morning on this Q&A. I really appreciate it. And okay, I do want to put this comment there. Thank you, Shauna, for putting that up. Shauna is also a moderator, also slash board member, and also a team member. So thank you so much, Shauna, for being here this morning. And you put up there, do you want to help and don't know how? Daniel and his family need your prayers. Thank you. To speak Daniel's name through social media, at the office, store, wherever you go. Have you heard about Daniel? And that's what I need you guys. She's right. Word of mouth is very important. And you guys on here right now, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. That really helped the algorithms get this thing going. But word of mouth is more powerful than CNN or MSNBC, Fox News, whatever you call it. Word of mouth is more powerful than all of that. When we have a voice, that's why I have a petition there. That's your voice. You guys can imagine the power that we have as a people when we stick together and we have a common cause and a common thing that we're trying to do. So please, by all means, don't ever forget your voice. You got to speak up and say something. I remember John Lewis, the late John Lewis, say, if you see something wrong, you see something that's not right, say something. You cannot just be quiet about it. I see something wrong with my son's case. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's a family member. If they're not doing something correctly, about trying to help find my son. The department, they work there. My family member work there. The department. I'm saying I would say something. You cannot be quiet on wrong things that's wrong. And so you guys, please, y'all see this. You see what's happening in my son's case. I could talk all I want to and tell these guys what they need to be doing because they need to. They have not one time came to my searches on their own. The 2 times that the Buckeye Police Department came to my search is because under my request, I had to literally write these letters to CC the mayor and the city manager, you name it, on these letters just to get them to come out. And when they came out empty-handed. When I say empty-handed, they might as well didn't come out at all. So the purpose of being there, I do not know other than to say, hey, we was out here to the search that day when I invited them out, the first one. The second time, they came empty-handed again. They promised me they was going to help me search these mines. They was going to search these wells, and they came empty-handed and kept, while I was doing the searches, probably, hey, Lieutenant Andrew, we're going to have the guys come out. We're waiting on them. I'm sitting there with the volunteers working hard out there in that desert, waiting on them, and they still haven't showed up. They ended up coming up late on that week and called me out there. But like I said, again, they came, you might as well say they was empty-handed. They came with a makeshift camera to look down in the well, one well. And that camera, the guys was upset because the bottom of that camera barely touched the water down in there, and because their camera cannot be submerged in the water. But they expected me to look at that and say, okay, end of story, time to move on. No, you need submergible cameras. If you're gonna do the job right, And so what I'm saying is, you guys, we do. I need all the prayers I can get. We need all the word of mouth we can get. Keep this story out there. Sometimes I don't know. Maybe they're just waiting on me to move on. Maybe that's happening to some families. They get tired. I'm tired. I've been tired. I'm really tired. You guys don't know how tired I am. I'm mentally tired, physically tired, but I have to keep pushing for my son. So a lot of people they get to their limit. My limit may be a lot longer than some of these other people. So you get to your limit. You want to stop. You want to quit. But how can you quit on your son? You see my son picture here. This is my son. This is my child. I've been there in his life since he came out of his mother's womb. And I plan to be there as long as I can, humanistically part, as long as I'm on this earth. So, what parent wouldn't do that? So, please, guys, you guys can share his story. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it if you can. Also, I'll keep going down this comment section. If you guys have a comment, please put the word comment first, or big capital letter Q. Question, I'm sorry. big letter question, big word question there, capital letter Q or some question marks. They help me as I'm coming down, just like what Pamela did here. If you guys can do that, that help me as I'm strolling down really fast to see it, because I'll try not to miss. If I miss, please don't get upset with me. Just please try to put your question there again. I really appreciate it. A question and a theory. If the Jeep was not there in the beginning of him missing, why would Daniel be still wearing a work vest? If he left the desert and came back to joyride weeks later, or was even carjacked. I get your questions. That's what I'm saying. You guys, I mean, anybody, you don't have to be an investigator. You just have to be a human being with a brain. You can look at some of these questions. You ask yourself when you look at this. If you read that report and read their theory and the way they line their report up to say certain things and suggest certain things, then you ask yourself questions. All you do is ask questions. Then you say, that don't make sense. A lot of stuff don't make sense. And y'all hear me say this story about how my son went missing. Hey, I'm the father of geologist Daniel Robinson. My son went missing on June 23rd. He was at this well site and he talked for 10 minutes. All the stuff came from one person. I mean, just one person. Everything that I know about what happened to my son came from one guy. And that's the guy at the well site. This whole narrative and theory came from one. It started there. And the fact that I did talk to his job, and they said he was assigned to go to these two well sites, right? And but that's the story started with him. This guy saying my son just drove off without being vetted. His story has been vetted. You guys see, and I'm saying it again. I vetted that story, and it don't make sense to me. Talking about he was following some tracks. You know how many tracks is out there on that ground out there? To this date, go out there. I go out there today. And those tracks, some of the tracks we had since summer last year is still in certain areas. I can go to some area that I know people don't travel, and I can show you on a video this track still on the ground, looking fresh as the day have been put there. And how can you determine which tracks was my son and which wasn't was somebody else's? And it was raining so hard that it literally washed these other tracks away, and just his track survived. I mean, it's all kind of questions. And then if you listen to his story almost leads to where this vehicle goes. I had to go turn right at the T-junction. That's what you had to do to get to this vehicle site. Then you had to go through this gate. That's what you have to do when you go to the vehicle site. Then you go another mile or so down the road. That's what you have to do when you come to this site. And then he said, I went up on a hill to look. That's what you have to do when you come to the site. You get what I'm saying? All that stuff, what he was saying was almost pointing at the site. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's what it suggests almost. You know what I'm saying? So, when I look at this whole thing, this theories, like I said, it was all at the beginning, basically from this one guy. I don't even know if that's my son's clothing on the ground. I don't know what my son was wearing that day. You get what I'm saying? That's why I need to be tested. That's why I need to check for DNA. How Buckeye knows my son's clothing? You get what I'm saying? That proves the point of how they thinking is. When they say, well, he was driving, it's his vehicle, obviously he was the one driving. Like, really? So I have my car out there and I let my neighbor or my daughter drive, and they say, well, and they pull over and say, well, hey, how you doing, Mr. Robinson? I mean, it's obviously you driving because it's your vehicle. They pull the tags. Oh, that's Mr. Robinson driving. Let me pull him over. It could be my daughter in the car. How they know I was driving that vehicle? How they know he was driving this vehicle? How they know that's even his clothing on the ground? How they know they got that safety vest from 7-Eleven or something? I don't know, and put it on the ground. How they know that? They don't care. They just care about making themselves look good. They're saving their dough because they sure don't spend no money on my son on this case. That's it. So anyway, thanks so much, Pamela, for your questions. So I also thank you, Megan, for being here this morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your love and support. I really appreciate it. God bless you for that. Thank you, Shiro's Nation, for being here. Again, I really appreciate all the questions that you have. And you're right. It's funny how circumstantial evidence is enough to conclude Daniel was in the car, right? Much less have a head injury, but it's not enough to consider foul play. I just don't get it. Yeah, and I don't get it either. You know, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the whole pattern of this department, they're doing everything they can, in my opinion, to make sure that this case don't look like a foul play. You know, it kind of go in conjunction, in my opinion, also with the fact that the chief of police was suspended for falsifying documents, right? When they falsified documents, try to make the crime statistics look good in Buckeye, because you know that's a growing city. They got these people investing their money and trying to put these communities and stuff. And here it is, he got caught and suspended, and one of them even quit because of they falsifying documents. That's why I say, you guys, for a department who can falsify documents, I do not trust anything they have in their report. Nothing. That's what I'm saying. Actions speak louder than words. You guys, I'd rather see the action, forget the paperwork. You know. So thank you also, Barry, for being here, team member, board. Thank you so much for everything you do. I really appreciate it. God bless you for being here this morning, being part of the Q&A, helping as a moderator. Also, thank you, Where the Wind Blows. I really appreciate you being out here. Thank you so much. God bless you for coming out here to the Q&A. I do have a question from Nikki. If you guys have questions, please put a big question, the word question there, or like Nikki did here, big question marks, or a big capital letter Q to help me find your question as I'm coming down the comment section. Have you checked auto body shops to see if the cars, the color of the transfer paint on Dan's Jeep have been repaired around the time Dane's disappeared? No, I have not, but I did have my former investigator saying he was doing something like that. I have yet to get, well, that's another story, and that's something that I would have to work on the back end, but, you know, I need information like that. You know, he said that he did things like that, check into these tow company, you know, to make sure that transfer paint didn't come from the tow vehicle, find out the company that towed that vehicle never had red trucks. So nothing red came off the vehicle, off their the transfer paint didn't come off their tow truck. So I do have those pictures from their site and things like that. So they never own any red trucks. So but he did check into those theories, I guess, because he wanted to make sure that transfer paint didn't come from you know, anything else that was associated with towing and stuff like that. But as in that, I need to get those information from him, which I'm still to this day waiting on certain things. So thanks so much for your question. Thank you, Jocelyn, for being here. Thank you so much, Barry, for putting information out here. Stay tuned for an upcoming event for missing persons. Yes. Thank you, guys, for, I really thank you guys to keep going to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com and events tab, and that would help also. Also, if you're ever curious, have a question, did Buckeye state the seatbelt buckle was locked when inspected at the scene? If so, did they offer explanation regarding how it would be possible to get out of the Jeep with the seatbelt still on? You know, people say this a lot, and they look at those pictures, and I'm trying to see what people see. They'll say, "Hey, Mr. Robinson, that seatbelt looked locked in that seat." Now, when I look at it, like it is dangling. I'm not sure. I'll still look at it from different angles. Like it's dangling, not really connected there. It's hard to say. It's very hard to say. But you know, as in it's not retracting and things like that. I really don't know. But one thing I can say, if it's locked that way, they need to lock it, right? One thing I would say, and from that locked position, if I was a detective doing this, I would have, after I did all my proper protocol pictures and all the stuff, then if the seat was still locked like that, I would have connected it and see if it's even possible for a person to fit in a seat. You know, if you know how you lock it, and if you got enough room for a body that should sit in the seat, but if it's locked against the chair so tight, it's impossible for a person to be between that and the chair. That seatbelt, that'll bring a lot of questions for me. But you know, of course, they ain't gonna take no time because they don't, in my opinion, don't care about Daniel being missing like that. No matter what that department said, because you didn't take the proper time and care to rule out questions like that. Just deep questions about the scene. That's why no forensic work was done on that. So no, they don't give me information. They just tell you things. Hey, he was wearing a seatbelt, blah, 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 in the story. He didn't sustain any injury, but at the same time say he had severe head injury, brain injury. So we do have a question here from Where the Wind Blows. Thank you for your question. Have you contacted any off-road groups? Yes, on Facebook to help search. Yes, we have. We have some people that showed up with their UTVs, ATVs in the summer. when I was doing the searches out there. And but that's scarce. You have a few people from these off-road groups and things like that. I did have a search coordinator at the time who was no longer with us, who used to reach out to those a lot. And then the current one was Mr. Short. He was doing that also, reaching out to some of those groups. So as in them showing up, I think they was kind of showing up sporadically. Like, like I say, a person from that group, for instance, may show up with a razor or some of these Jeeps and things like that. I think we had a couple guys show up with some of those things with Jeeps and stuff. So yes, we do reach out to them. Also, I have a question here from Curita. If I say your name incorrectly, I apologize. Thank you so much for your question. I'm gonna call you Q, if you don't mind. Thank you so much for being here this morning. First of all, on Facebook and from off of Facebook, I really appreciate you coming out. Also, question here: have you looked at older satellite videos of that area where his car was located? Are the coordinates public information? Yes, they are. The coordinates are right there on policehelpfinddaniel.com under set the map. But you know what? I can show you. I do have a PDF. I mean, a whole video to show you how to work that website. You guys go to this YouTube channel, Please Help Find Daniel. It's listed there under the website tutorial. You can go through there and they'll show you how to do that. But yes, the coordinates are there. They are public knowledge. As in for the satellite videos, I have been going through satellite stuff, and it's thousands of satellites up there and the companies and stuff. And I haven't found anything yet that would help me get pictures around that time. And when I say that, even Google, for instance, satellite map is outdated. Some outdated stuff. So everything I get is outdated before Daniel went missing, well before he went missing, and then times after, saying stuff like that. So it's hard to get those kind of that information lately. So also thank you for your question. I do have a question here from Where the Wind Blows. Have you contacted the VFW? I have been to the VFW. I smile because it was really one I really enjoyed hanging around. But yeah, I've been there trying to see if I can get support out there in the desert. I would love to see my fellow people at arms, comrades, out there, boots on the ground, especially my battle buddies, the ones that was out in Afghanistan with me. I mean, we have each other's back. We have family members for life. That's just the military community. But yeah, I would love to see them out there. I try not my best because we all have our issues. When I say issues, we have our things that happen in our war experience that we're still recovering from. I'm still recovering from. On top of searching for my son. And you know what? I try not to put too much pressure on my battle buddies, asking them to come out here in Arizona to help me search for my son. It brings back a lot of memories, sparked a lot of memories. I went to South Carolina. I grabbed my boots. I went home and grabbed my boots that I used to wear in Afghanistan. I often wear my dog tags. I don't have them on this morning. And believe it or not, I was out there in that desert so much I was able to put my old ACU pants on and again wear those again amazingly. And but it jogs a lot of memories. It brings back a lot of war experience memories. And one of the things I do try to do is be careful about asking people to come out to the desert. Saying because that would kind of, I know for me it did. The terrain is totally different. Excuse me, guys. The terrain is totally different from Afghanistan, but it's still ultimately the desert. And going out there, putting boots on the ground, just a word, boots on the ground, jogged something for me also. So, excuse me again. Like I have just dry throat this morning. But it jogs some memories. So I try to make sure I be very careful with just asking military battle buddies, no matter if they was in Afghanistan with me or not, make sure they, they okay too. They're my family, so I have to make sure they're okay too. Excuse me. Also, thank you, Gwen, for being here. This is my sister, you guys. my sister, and also my cousin. She know I call her sister. We grew up together in the same house. So she's my sister, but she's actually my cousin. Thank you, Gwen, for being here this morning. First time seeing you on the screen. Happy to see your face. Well, in a sense, I can't wait to see you off camera. The truth will come out, and it will. They're hiding something. You should have been treated way better. We're so proud of you. They messed with the wrong child. They really did. And you know how I am. You know me. I'm, and you know us. How we are as a family. We're gonna be persistent. We protect our own children, our own family, and thank you, Gwen, for being here this morning. We definitely protect our own, and so I love you, girl, and I'll talk to you after I get rid of this Q&A. So, thank you, Mary, for being here. Question here. Thank you for your question. Have you asked the state police to get involved? No, I have not. I have not asked the state police yet to get involved. And I say yet, I'm still, every time you guys ask me those questions, I say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm trying to make sure I get certain things, my ducks in a row. It's almost like when you're doing a paper in college, when you got to cross all your T's and dot all your I's and make sure your paper is correct before you turn it in. And so it's almost one of those type deals. And before I hit some of these agencies up, that all my things are covered. It's just taking me some time. A lot of things, even my timeline. I'm telling people all the time on here, hey, I got this timeline put together, my own police report, not police report, because I can't call it that, my own family report that would go in conjunction to see the differences of the Buckeye Police Department police report versus what really happened in my view and from my facts of how the timeline of events happened since I've been in Arizona searching for my son. So it takes a lot. I get distracted a lot. When I say I get distracted, is one thing. I had to go and do these interviews, to going out to search, it's so many moving parts. It's amazing. Sometimes I sit back and I look at things. I'm like, well, dang, how I ask myself the question: how are you able to handle all the stuff at one time? It seems impossible, but you'll be surprised all the things you can do when you get your mind motivated and try to get things done. You'll be surprised, amazed at how you can handle so many things at one time. But you know what? God blessed me with a team. Team showed up. You got a lot of them right here in the comment section moderating. And the team showed up. And when I had the team, that really helped me organize things a lot better. Because it's an overload. It's a mind overload. I have a mind overload a lot. And, just be able to make sure I stay on top of track of things. But thank you so much for that. Y'all, please don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button. I really need you guys to do that. Please, I have to say it every so often to remind you, hit the like, share, subscribe to help the algorithms, so get Daniel's story out there a lot farther. I really need you guys to do that. Please, if you can, do that. That's my whole reason why I have this Q&A, and to answer your questions, but at the same time, this is not an entertainment channel. But it's to put my son's story out there, and hopefully to help other families too who want to talk about their. And I still working on those families. I have them camera shy. I was camera shy. I don't like being in front of camera, believe it or not. And I understand their worry about being on camera. But I'm inviting families to come on and tell their family stories on this channel. Other channels can utilize for. Definitely is for me to find my son and to put information out there, but also answer your questions. And so if you guys can, please, by all means, do that. Thank you everybody who came out this morning. Everybody. I don't get everybody's name. I'm just trying to find these questions. So thank you so much. Saying if you can, please, like I said, this help with the algorithm. Word of mouth is very important. If you guys can share, like, and subscribe, I promise you that's a whole lot. You're doing a whole lot, to help towards everything I'm trying to do here on this for search for my son. So thank you. I do have a question here from Jocelyn. Thank you, Jocelyn, again for being here off your Facebook. If you could have one tool to help with the search that you don't have ATM at the moment, at the moment, what would that be? And it'll be drones. If you're saying out there in the desert, it'll be drones. I've been writing a letter out to DJI, I have drones. We have drones. We have guys bringing their drones out, but we don't have those specialized drones. I just need one. I say one. I don't know what I need, but I need one. And specialized drone. That's one of the biggest things. To have that type of drone, their capability with the infrared technology and some of the other little technologies in that drone to be able to search this ground out there. Months pass by, it's almost getting ready to go on a year. And just saying that, with the fast and prayer that's coming up and things, I'm constantly being reminded that, wow, time flew by really fast. That it's coming up to a year that my son had been missing. On the 23rd, it'll be 11 months. And I can tell you guys, I never thought in a million years that I'd be missing my son. Never in a million years that, I was going to get a phone call from my daughter saying somebody came looking for Daniel. And then from that point, never ever heard from him again. Don't get to hear his voice. The only thing I get from his voice is what I play on the introduction on here or some old videos that we have family-wise, old voicemails. I had to listen to his voicemail. I save his voicemails, and I have to sit there and listen to his voicemail just to hear his voice. I'm sure his mother do the same thing. It's painful. It's painful to want to hear your child's voice. I mean, this is something simple, and then you just don't know what the hell happened to them. Don't have a clue. So. But one of the biggest things for me would be for the searchers out there. When I was asking this department for help with my searches out there, is to provide those type of drone technologies. I even had charter a helicopter for the search. That costs money. So guys, you got to. Sometimes I forget about certain things that I have done out there in that desert in the past. But yeah, I had to pay for charter service that the police department should have been paying for to get helicopters out there, a plane or whatever, to take pictures of the area and stuff like that and try to search for my son. Why that should have came out of our pocket. When I say our pocket, you guys donated your money out of my own pocket, my money, to do these things. We pay tax money. That's what those tax dollars are for. So, it's a lot. But yeah, one of the things, Jocelyn, would be that. So thank you so much for your question. I will be putting up, and my team is also real quick, AAH, I apologize, you have a question there. But one of the things my team and I was working on, they brought it to my attention to put up a list of things on the website that we need out there in the desert. So, and also try to get away. You guys may want to donate those things through maybe one of the sites, even from things like Amazon or something, type deal where you guys can, help with supplies and things like that. We need out there. One of the biggest things we needed when we had for the command center is safety equipment, whether there's from first aid equipment to water to snacks or whatever the case may be, extra gloves, or just everything you need for what you would think what we need. I have a list of things for the command center, for instance, what we need out there in terms of vehicle and stuff like that. What we need, it's so much. So much stuff that we was able to provide. I was able to get done when I first started my searches. Like I said, over time, because of funding, it started coming down. We didn't even have a command tent at a certain point, and so now I had to cut the searches back to every other week to not having a day on pause right now. So it's a lot of need. There's a lot of need out there, and I really need to go out there to continue my search for my son. Thank you, Shiro Nation, for your question. How long until you find out what the white structure is at the bottom of the well? And I don't know. I don't have the right person still for that. Shiro's Nation. I still don't have the right person to look at that structure. I'm almost looking at it again from this standpoint. I've been looking at it the other day and trying to make sure that's not that pipe that's going down in the dirt, and it kind of coming at an angle with the light to make it appear to be that way. Something's sticking out the dirt. So I just want to make sure. But yeah, definitely I'm gonna have somebody look at it. I just don't know who yet. It's kind of hard to trust people in Arizona. I have been when I say people in Arizona, I'm not throwing off on Arizona. I'm talking about the people in law enforcement and things like that, because a lot of times when I reach out to people, they all connect in some kind of way. So my goal was to get somebody outside of Arizona to look at that and give me an opinion. And I did find one person in New York, but after the conversation, I really needed to move on from to a different person. But you know what? Yeah, and I'm not saying against Arizona, because a lot of great people in Arizona. My team is here in Arizona, so you guys are in Arizona. A lot of you here on the Q&A. So I'm saying is the people who will look at those items and stuff like that from law enforcement. I don't want anybody associated with Buckeye or things like that. Looking at that and giving an opinion. So that's what I'm looking for. So don't forget, y'all guys, for the fast and prayer that's coming up. Hashtag fast and prayer for Daniel. You can start doing that hashtag. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for starting that off already, Millie. And also, again, I'm going to say Q. Thanks for being here and doing that. So I'm really grateful for you both. Also, a question. Thank you, Sophia, first of all, for your question. Have you look at older satellite videos of the area where his car was located, or coordinates public information? You know, and I think I did answer this exact question. Yes, I look at satellite footage, but you know, like they were outdated footage. There's outdated, and you know, and the ones that I've seen lately was some outdated. When I say outdated, it was before Daniel went missing, and then the other ones, when they updated it, the updation came after Daniel was missing. So kind of one of those things. I just haven't found the right satellite company or where to look to get those exact dates, you know, of where Daniel. And you know, I would imagine they'd have a lot of thousands of them, like I said, there. But I imagine that they search that ground. They keep that eye on that area a lot, because there's a military base on the other side of the White Tank Mountains there. We were out there in the desert constantly. We every so often we'll see fighter jets doing their drills and things over that area. So I know they constantly, you know what I'm saying? So they're constantly doing some kind of footage from air, from the satellite footage and things like that up there. So I do have a question here. I believe it's a question from Kimberly. Have you received any EOB from insurance or contacted his insurance to see if there have been any claims? I don't know what that is. You say EOB. I'm not sure what that terminology is, but I try to figure that out. But no, I haven't did any kind of claims or anything with the insurance company or anything like that. So I did have a suggestion by a volunteer, a person on the comment section, and also from a text message from a young lady who worked for an insurance company, said I could have utilized their investigator at the time before I got my private investigator. They was, hey, look, man, you can get the insurance investigator to come in, and they do a lot of that kind of forensic stuff. Could check that vehicle. So not that kind of forensic like clothing stuff, but they would check the information that came off that vehicle data, things like that, because they trying to see about the accident. Whether the accident happened, try to get information from that Uconnect that was in my son's vehicle that the Buckeye Police Department claimed they couldn't get information from. It all came up all zeros or something out of other, that type deal. So yeah. I don't know what that really means, but that's what I believe you're talking about. So thanks so much, Kimberly, for your question. I do have a question here from Mary. Have you asked the state police to get involved? Not state police yet. Like I said, I'm gonna make sure I get everything taken care of before I approach these agents, state police, and also more so the Attorney General's office. I've been waiting on one person to get me in close contact with the Attorney General's office. That's one of my biggest ones. So thank you so much for your question, Mary. You guys, if you have a question, please put the word question there for us first, like Mary did there, or put a big question marks like she have after that, or a big capital letter Q that help me find your question and things like that as I coming down coming down the comment section. So thanks so much. If you guys can do that. I do have a question here from Maltese. Thank you, Maltese, for being here this morning off of the YouTube. You know what? I didn't realize it's going 2 hours, but thank you so much. How long did he work for the company? He worked for the company almost 3 years, about 3 years before he went missing. Was there any issues between workers previously. Not that I know of. Daniel never did describe any kind of disagreement with any of the coworkers. Now, he did have a little issue with the company. When I say the company, when I say the issue he had with the company is simply the fact that he had to do Instacart. When you guys heard the story about him doing Instacart and met the young lady, he doing Instacart because he had to pay his bills. Daniel's a very responsible young man. He's been taught that way to be responsible. He's been taking care of himself, and he see that the money issue is not there. He's going to do whatever. He's going to hustle just like I did for them. Hustle, do whatever you got to do to make sure you provide. So one of the things he did was work for Instacart. What I found that out after the fact that he did Instacart. He didn't tell me because he knew the first thing I would have did is, his siblings and everybody knew. He knew I would ask why. You know what I'm saying? I guess he didn't want to say, hey, Dad, I need some money or something, that type deal. So his manhood, I get it. But one of the things is he did work there. Only issue, like I say, he had is the fact that he had to provide a lot of things like that safety vest you see there, and some of the other things that he had to provide for his travels to these well sites. Sometimes he in well sites outside of Phoenix, outside just different cities. He go to different cities all over Arizona to these well sites, and sometimes he had to spend the night. I talked to him on the phone many times when he worked late at night till the morning. Out there in some desert well site or wherever he at somewhere, and we have our conversation. So he had to spend his own money. He made sure his bills didn't go behind, because when he spend his money like that for this company, they make him put in a expense report, and then that expense report, when he put it in, it take them some time before they actually pay him his money, reimburse him his money. So he can't wait. Bills ain't wait. He can't call somebody and say, hey, I need you to hold off on this bill until these people send me my money back. So he got Instacart. That's one thing that helped him out. He's a young man still navigating his finances on his own. No matter how much you teach your children, they figure some things out. They make some errors and some mistakes, but ultimately they get it right. We all know. I'm sure most of you are probably still young. A person like myself, been through that stage in life, so it happens. But also, thank you for the other question here. How long was Daniel employed with the company? Okay, you did have that question already. So thank you so much. So thank you so much for that. I do have a question here about from Twistina. Thank you so much, Twistina, for being here. What about the driver's seat? Can you tell by how it was set if it was taller or shorter? Person Daniel, I cannot. Those are questions I had from my investigator at the time. He was the accident reconstructionist doing that, and those kind of things he looked into. And I'm still waiting on those information from that. But yeah, that's one of the things that would be answered in his final report. So once I get that, if it wasn't just for his seating and things like that. I do have this comment from Mr. Short. Thank you for being here, Mr. Short. When it's raining out there and someone drives, it's clear to see tracks from that day. Also, and I've been out there also, Evan, and I'm out there just as much as you are. And I know after a rain, some of those tracks, you can see tracks clear, but it's not clear enough where especially for that day, they didn't have significant rain. Whenever that happens, it's not that rain, that dirt don't get saturated like that fast. And not only that day, that day when like I said, it was less rain, and also that tracks. I've been out there, and a lot of tracks look just as fresh as something that just rolled past, just as much. So that's one of them things that's questionable. I mean, me and you can debate about that one. But I've been out there, and I see it a little different. I even do a video. Hopefully, whenever this because it comes to the rainy season again, when that happens, you guys, I'll go out there again and kind of show you. I think sometimes we got video footage of things that explain it a lot better than just words. So I want to make sure you guys know that. So I've actually been on the ground for all these weeks. I've been out there longer than Evan here. He's my logistics coordinator, search coordinator. I've been doing the searches. He was one of the volunteers that came out to my searches, and him and his wife, and they decided to help out and being on since. So I'm really grateful for him and his wife. But I've been out there for a long time, you guys. I've been out there when it was raining. when Evan came on there. Matter of fact, when Evan showed up, it was one of the days that it was raining. my then coordinator canceled a search, and he canceled a search, and Evan happened to show up and being part of that crowd. So I'm really grateful for you coming out there. But yes, I'm telling you guys, when it rained out there, I've been seeing tracks like that. Some tracks, when the rain hit that tracks, it would make it look a lot fresher. And sometimes, like I said, but you still won't be able to tell the difference much. You know what I'm saying? Especially there was a lot more rain then. But when that day, according to the rancher who lives out there, who's out there, it wouldn't even rain probably 5 minutes, if that. So it was enough rain to even wash away anything or make anything highlighted. So, but I can tell you guys, there's a lot of tracks out there, a lot of it. So thanks so much, Evan, for your comment. I do have a question here. Is the company that Daniel works for offering any type of reward or assistance in helping with finding Daniel? Well, no, I work with this company, try to, they help much can. When I say when they help, which I can say, like I told the owners of that company, if you have a missing worker, my company, have a missing worker, that's my first priority. Everybody who works for my company is my first priority. I mean, it's the same thing how you guys, y'all don't work for me. You're volunteers. Even in a volunteer standpoint, we're a family, If something was happening out there, God forbid, we was out there in the searches out there in that desert, and we have this radio contacts and we have people sign in and all that kind of stuff. And when people do that, somebody don't sign out, right? We're not gonna say, hey, okay, well, everybody, have a good day, and we just move on. No, we out there searching. We're out there riding around, and we can't get them on radio, or we don't know what happened. What ended up happening, I can't say this. What ended up happening is a lot of the volunteers end up not signing out, and they just take off. And we that's why we're stressing the safety briefing. Look, you have to please sign in, and you have to sign out, because we don't need a rescue looking for a rescue. So what we do is make sure the people sign in, sign out, and because if they don't, we'll be out there for hours or so until we locate and get their phone number some kind of way, and be like, oh, okay. They say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to sign out. But we're looking for this person. We're not just going to not look for them. So I'm saying, if you got to own your own company, one thing I did talk to them about is the fact that I left from South Carolina to go search for my son. And, nobody searched for him. The Buckeye Police Department said they put that Phoenix Airbird in the air almost 3 days after he went missing. But I was already up there, up to that point, getting there. But that job have not sent any helicopter or anything out there to search for Daniel. So, yeah, of course. That's one thing that I talked to them about. Like, look, that's your employee. He's still on the clock. He's still employed by you. You have the finances. You have the resources, whatever the case may be. You need to be out there searching, and they haven't done that. So that's one thing now I can say. But they have workers from that company that did come out to my searches, my organized searches, and was able to do that. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for your questions, Kathy. I really appreciate you being here this morning. Also known you for a long time. Really grateful for you being out here. Aaron Chase have a question. Some cars will not shift out of park unless seatbelt is fastened. Is it possible the seatbelt was buckled and the car driven off the highway with a rock or brick on the accelerator and no driver? I really don't know how that vehicle in there, but I can tell you from my incident reconstructionist, there was enough terrain on top of that hill up there for that vehicle to make it at the 30s some miles per hour before impact coming down that ravine. So that's another reason why he know that accident happened somewhere else. That first accident, when I say the accident happened, the first one, because everything else, the vehicle did crash down the ravine after it crashed somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it eventually made it to that ravine, was what the investigator was saying. But that's not the initial crash. We're talking about this initial crash. And I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but I can tell you, just looking at a picture over and over again, if you look at the original picture, especially one the rancher gave, the vehicle appeared to be in neutral. or drive. But it appears to be in neutral. It's in a neutral spot. So I'm not sure with that. I'm really working on that still hard, because if it's on neutral, then we know what the case may be. It's definitely not in park. It's definitely not in drive. Really, I can't really tell, because drive would have been a little higher, sitting up, but a little more into the neutral spot. So I will check into that to make sure don't go with that, you guys. I'm just looking into that, and that's one of the things I'm really checking to. So it's possible the seat has buckled and then driven off the highway. I really don't know. So some stuff we definitely trying to find out. I'm still working on that. So well, you had a question here, Robin. You asked about the law enforcement, even though it's not, you didn't have the question, the word there about having to see this. So law enforcement never searched the wells. No, they have not. When I say search the wells, they haven't searched it properly. So nevertheless, it hasn't been searched. They came out to, I think it was like 3 or 4 months after my son went missing. What I call a photo op. It was about 4 months after my son's story went some national, and of course the news agency was busting down on them. You guys was calling and emailing, texting, and all that stuff, running that department crazy. They came out later and said, "Hey, we're doing a search today," and they put it on their page, and they had themselves looking down in this what they was calling a well. We was calling a well too. The funny part is that when I started my searches, when the vehicle first showed up on July 19th, that weekend, and the weekend after that, we searched that, what we thought was a well too. We searched that. When I say searching, we couldn't get the wood up, so we only can try to look down and through the cracks and try to see if anybody can get in. We assume nobody can get somebody in there because the wood was so there, like it's been untouched. But we had plans to go back further. So I could tell you that well that they did a photo op, in my opinion, on is only not a great distance away from this crash scene. That's right. Really walking distance from the crash scene. So if they did this search that they claim they did this real big search for my son, why it took them 4 months after, 2 or 3 months after this vehicle was found to do that same well? That was in that area right there. They said they claimed they searched or whatever, but they did that as a photo op, in my opinion. And also, we later found out after the company I had to come in to actually really search the well and go down the water. You guys seen the footage here on the Q&A. We went to go do that one and found out there was mines. They are not wells at all, but the Buckeye Police Department called them wells. If they was actually searching that thing, they would have also called it a mine, because they would have realized there was some mines. And so those are mines in the area. So I can say that. All right, I do have Don Pratt. Thanks so much for the question. How much are the specialized drones? I really don't know. I know they're a couple of grand, several grand. That's some of the money I didn't want to spend that time. In hindsight, it was, I'm not a professional. I'm not a person who had a missing person before. I never conducted any searches, organized all kind of stuff. I can say this one thing is that as in the pricing of those drones, yeah, they're expensive. I know one of the ones I look at, it was easily $6,000 by itself. So some of them a lot more. Some of them a lot more when I looked them up. But that particular type of drone, they've become very expensive. We really needed them out there, and I was real reluctant after all the money I was spending out there on those razors every week and quads and stuff, spending up for the investigator and his team. Things like that. I was really kind of weary about how I was spending the money. And sometimes hindsight now, look at it like, I wish I would have cut back on something else and went ahead and purchased those drones when we needed them. But I was more so taking the team I had at the time and trying to reach out, like I said, to some of these nonprofit organizations who has those drones and see if they can come out and help. Nevertheless, they never have come out. So looking back, one thing I would do is say, make sure you have your own. But at the same time, having said that, it made me feel a certain way to say that, because the Daniel Robinson Foundation will be providing those things for some families. So I don't want the family to say, hey, no, I want to use the Daniel Robinson Foundation. No, they really need to. And, because I don't want them going through the same thing that I had to go through to try to get these stuff for the searches. So, all right. Thank you, Aaron Chase, for your question. Has a camera being lowered down the well to look closer. Yes, I had cameras there. Those I had those cameras look down in the water, go down thousands of feet, close to 1,000 feet. It was like 900 some feet in one well. I think the other one was like 800 or some feet down into those wells underwater. Again, the Buckeye Police Department said they was coming out to do that search for me at the well. And they called these guys in. Where they had some kind of makeshift camera thing they had with this pretty fluffy cadaver dog, pretty white little thing, cadaver dog. And they came out there to say they're doing the search of this well and or the wells and also the mines, which they only did one well. And what they did was with a camera, like you said, that did not submerge underwater, but they thought I was going to be satisfied with that, and also satisfied with the little cute little. It looked like a pet, but I don't know. They said it was a certified cadaver dog, really pretty, nice, pretty white thing. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to rub and pat it. But it was definitely one of those type cameras that definitely wasn't submergible. But yeah, like I said, I had a company that actually had cameras that go down in the water, deep down to the bottom of that wells, and was able to search them properly. And not only that, was able to give the owners of those wells an inspection of their wells. So EOB, thank you so much. Explanation of benefits. And that question that you had earlier, no, I did not talk to any insurance company about any of that. I definitely didn't have, I guess I don't have that kind of thing in my mind. It was all about finding Daniel. So when I got any kind of information about insurance company or any kind of alert, it was from somebody in the comment section, and also text me about having an insurance company may be able to provide some type of investigation thing, to try to help find out what happened to Daniel by the vehicle itself. Same thing my accident reconstruction ended up doing. So I do have a question here from Robin. Thank you, Robin. How many well sites are in that area? Oh my gosh. The ones I know of, it was I want to say, I know the two that I had searches, but that's the only two wells in that area. They built two more now, two new ones, and I know that don't have any association with Daniel, but they just built two new ones this year. And the other two that we thought was wells were actually mines. So they're vertical mines. So yeah, there's only two that I know of in that immediate area. I haven't seen any more, or we haven't any volunteer, as far as I know, didn't run into any more. They didn't describe that with me. Have you investigated the last known person who was with him that day? Yes, I did. I did my own private investigation of him. My personal private investigation that I hired, he did he questioned them. And also I heard that Buckeye Police Department said that they questioned this guy, but I did it myself. That was the first thing I needed to do. And it was not just from an investigative standpoint, it was from a father standpoint. I had to look this man in the eye who gonna tell me that my son, first of all, he came to this job. Not only one, but two of them. And according to this guy, he was so sleepy, he's saying he was tired, and he's looking at the time. I don't know about the iPod. I couldn't remember the time he's saying things like that, but he did say, "Oh, he's so odd or strange or something out of the word you want to use." And this guy will tell me that my son pretty much just waved off to him and drove off and never been seen again. So I want to see this guy tell me that my son wasted his time to come to work that day, spend his gas money, just decide that he didn't want to be to work and to take off and disappear from life itself. All out the blue. He had plans to go hiking with his sister that weekend. He just literally finished building his personal computer at home. Me and him had our conversation about things. What will be coming in July to see his vehicle. So all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I had to look this guy in the eye. He tell me the same story. I felt at the time was bogus, ridiculous, and suspicious. Coming up here to Arizona, I had to look the guy in the eye and hear him say that to me. So yes, I did talk to him. He seemed like no rude person. His attitude wasn't mean. One thing I can say he did when I first got there, I had witnesses. Company told him I was coming. They called him and said, "Hey," I told him I was at the gate. Vehicle showed up. It wasn't him. I thought it was him. Hey, how you doing? Said his name. No, he's at the well site. This other guy. I don't know who he is. Still don't know who he is to this day. Really heavyset guy with a white truck. And he sat out there and he's like, what you need with him? I say, well, came in here to talk to him, the Matrix New World, set it up so I can talk to the guy. This guy, whoever he is, he tried his best to, well, first of all, I want to say this. Witness can tell you this. This part of the guys don't know. This is some part I have neglected to even talk about. This guy, whoever he is, I don't know if he worked for Matrix or he worked for the company this guy worked with, but he was down in that well site. But he had his he got his truck. Told him I want to talk to the guy, and he said, "Well, hold on a second." He got on the phone, got in his truck. He got on the cell phone, and I was standing next to the truck. And then he said he put his truck in drive. He drove all up forward, so I guess I couldn't hear what they're talking about. And he sat there for a while. He talked whatever he had to say to the guy, and he backed his truck up, came back, and then he said, "Hey, I can take you down there to him." I said, "Well, how far is it?" He said, "Oh, it's about 5-6 miles or something like that, right?" And I'm like, "I'm not getting in the truck with you." And I had 2 ladies with me, and I'm like, you know what? My daughter's one of them, and Gwen was the other person. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to lead these ladies up here on this road. I said, no, I'm not doing that. No, yeah, come on, I got you. He had all this trash and stuff in his front of his cab, and he wanted me to sit in. No, I'm not. I said, I went to this guy show. I'll wait till him. You can tell him I'm up here, whatever. So eventually he drove off and left and went back in the desert. We sat on the side of the road and waited, and lo and behold, the guy showed up. He finally showed up. When he got out of the vehicle, the first thing he did, he looked at me. I was coming towards him to say hello to him, standing there. And he got a truck. He had a utility vehicle. He opened the side compartment and put his hand in there. I'm a military guy. And one thing we've been trained to do is watch people's hands, right? And one of my training kicked in. I don't know if he was fearful of me or he was getting ready to do something. But I do know that he was doing something with his hands and he was digging in his compartment. I don't know if he was reaching for a weapon or what the case may be. But I was very much watching his hands. And so once he, I guess, realized that I'm just talking, he relaxed. And then we started having our conversation. In that conversation, I used some other techniques that I've been taught is to befriend a person in a sense, make them feel comfortable. And that's when he changed the story. He started off, like I said, you guys, exactly what the verbatim, almost perfect what the police department said, other than the only discrepancy is in that story is if the company called him to inquire about Daniel, or he just took it upon himself. And so the way he's told it, he took it upon himself. So he told me that, and then he changed the story. When he changed the story, that's when he started adding in all those staying left to the tracks and all that kind of stuff, and it's gonna become big and blah blah blah. And that whole story he came up, he started telling me. Anyway, thank you guys for this Q&A. Really appreciate you guys coming out and being a part of this Q&A. You guys, please don't forget the tip line that's on the bottom of the screen there. You can also text the word tip to that number. If you stay anonymous both ways, text the word tip, or you can talk to the live operator. You can do both. Also, if you guys want to contact me directly, use the number below, 803-200-7994. You guys can contact me directly. Whether you have a tip you want to leave a comment, if you want some of these flyers, whatever case may be, you can contact me. Sometimes it takes me a while to answer your texts or messages, but I ultimately will. Please helphanddaniel.com for all the information you need to learn about the searches, to what I'm doing, to events, to how you can help, how you can sign a petition, how you can donate, all that stuff. Please helphanddaniel.com. The special operations searches are temporarily on pause until further notice. You guys know I did file the Daniel Robinson Foundation, so it is in existence. Daniel Robinson Foundation. We got some little details we got to take care of, and we'll be up and running. So y'all looking forward to that. Also, don't forget about the fast and prayer. Also, don't forget to look at the events tab on pleasehelpfanddaniel.com. If you guys live in other states and you want to help out in other ways, you can volunteer at the ways tab on pleasehelpfanddaniel.com. And also you can, if you guys want to give out the flyers, like I said, you could text that number I gave you or call it and request that. Or if you want to make them yourself, there's a PDF tab on the policehelpfinddaniel.com as well if you guys want to, so print them out yourself. But whatever you do, please just share and support. Just share. Everything you can. Just please share my son's story. That'll help. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, thank you for coming out here to support. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That really help the algorithms get this YouTube channel going and get it out farther. Because for me, it's word of mouth. Word of mouth is bigger than anything. I need to get my son's story out there. Somebody heard something. Somebody knows something, and we keep on putting it out there. They will get the message. And also, it keeps Daniel's story alive, and also keep the pressure on this department to give his story, his case up to people who actually really want to help find my son, who actually really want to do the job to help me find my son, help me find my son, and help you guys who have interest into finding my son. So I have one more question, and then I'll be done. That question is, do you know if the guy claiming to be an agent targeting practicing was with minor children or adult children? If adults, they could be witnesses who have seen Daniel, as well as it could be questioned. And, I don't know. This guy said all that. Buckeye Police Department say they vetted his story, and they say it's true, right? And, and it goes back to your question, Cheerios Nation, when you asked that the other day, like, how can Daniel be giving somebody's direction someplace he never been before? And that was your question, right? And your question was very logical and make a whole lot of sense. How can this guy say your son, he saw my son twice? First of all, think about what he said. The first time I saw him through my sights of my rifle. Saw him through my sights, And then the second time I saw him was on a riverbank, of the side of the Hassayapa River on the bank area. So, or was the Wagner Wash, one out two. And the thing is, how my son gonna get him and say, hey, you go shoot over there, and he never been there? How you know over there is? Oh, we've been working in this area. What area is he talking about? Because he was working in the area, he would be at the well site. When Daniel do his job, he don't be wandering around the desert. I have never talked to my son ever at a well site, and he say, hey, Dad, I'm gonna ride around in this desert for a while. Hey, and me and him on the phone, hey, Dad, you ought to see this mountain peak over here, blah, 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 so and so. It's never that. My son is always at the job. He's always just sitting there. He told me he had to watch with his measurements. Every so often he had to check it. After all, he'd get back in his car. We have a long conversation. He'd get back out again. He had to check these measurements and see the water level. That's what he does. I have never known him to ever go out and just start walking around the desert or go sightseeing or whatever case from his job site. So it never happened before, and I'm suspecting it never happened then. And not only that, like you said in your question, Shiro's Nation, how are you going to give somebody the directions of a place he's never been before? It don't make sense. It don't add up. And that's the kind of stuff that this department is willing to put in their report or willing to believe without vetting the story. They say they did. They vetted his story, and we have no reason to believe it's false. Like, really? I believe it's false now. You know what I'm saying? Just by your questions, Shiro's Nation. So, people can say anything. So, when you start seeing these questions and these things like the man at the well site and this person, you just start looking at these people and start asking yourself questions of any of their involvements or anything like that. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want to say this one thing, like Kimberly put it, and I apologize that happened to you, that you've been sexually assaulted. No, people just don't know how the pain that people go through. You never know until, they tell you. So, prayers to you, and I know you're healing. So, sorry about that. The transfer DNA on clothing is critical. It is. Definitely thank you for that information, but definitely sorry for that happening to you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of the Q&A. I really, really grateful that you came out this morning. Allowed me to do 2 hours and 35 minutes. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot about that. That timing. I'm going to need to start cutting these Q&As a little shorter. But you know what? Your questions are very important to me. You are very important to me. Your support is very important to me. So thank you so much for having the support and being out here. Just my son and my family, his mother, his siblings, his cousins, everybody, the family is really needing your help. We all need your help. I need your help to continue to search for my son. So thank you so much. I really love you all. God bless you. And I definitely hope you have a wonderful day. And please don't forget this fast and prayer that's coming up and some of the things. So go to policehelpfinddaniel.com for everything. I'll be updating some things on that. So God bless you. You have yourself a wonderful day.